Okay, right. So tentatively what I plan to do is I usually do this kind of teaching based on all the keyboard command lists. So I will probably be spending the time running through the list and explaining each command and do a quick demo of how it works. Although the whole idea is this, the main file I'll start with is this one called General Keyboard Commands for Windows 10. And the idea is actually the commands, most of them are pretty essential. So you don't even need special effort to demonstrate them. On the spot, you will already be using the commands, that kind of thing. So I will probably break this up into topics. One is general computer navigation. Next is working with text. Then I'll expand to the rest of Word. If there's anything else I feel worth mentioning, then I'll do some Excel. I actually probably should do some internet as well. So I'll do some basic stuff. And I did give you a list of JAWS and NVDA keyboard commands. I believe in that file, there's actually also some instructions on configuring your NVDA so that it's easier to use for whatever scenarios. So I'm not sure if you all tried doing that configuration, but I suppose I can spend some time there as well if anybody wants to discuss or ask about how to do things. So mainly I'll share screen, and then yeah, it'll be focused on these Word documents that I'll go through, or Excel, depending on what list I'm going through. Okay, so okay, so what can you see on the screen now?
It's your email.
Email.
Yeah.
What about now?
Desktop.
Okay, so that means it's the entire screen now. Okay, so you're already listening to the software now. I'll run this demo with my software running. I will probably slow it down. Otherwise, like yeah, I sort of get the idea that you won't get much out of listening to this kind of voice. Okay, okay, so now you, I think, are already starting to see some limitations in the software. Like there's this thing in the middle of the screen. I can tell there's something on the screen, but my software isn't reading it out to me. Can anyone tell me what's on the middle? It's nothing. Nothing. I thought I saw this window in the middle.
Meet the new Dropbox batch, is it?
Ah, okay. How annoying. Yes, Dropbox sometimes
The
does that
one-
to people.
PC cursor. Right mouse button. PC cursor. 5.08 centimeters. Level 2. 1. Windows. Misspelled. Key plus icon brings up the settings window. 101. Undo.
Yeah, so looks like there's going to be a bit
Input search
irritating.
keyword. Find the participant. Edit. Find the participant. New audio left parent. Plus A right parent. New audio left parent. Plus. Save to this PC. Save to this PC. Text. Clipboard. Group. General keyboard shortcuts for Windows 10 computers. Auto save. Toggle switch. General keyboard
Can you
shortcuts
see
for
where my
Windows 10
mouse pointer is?
Font group. Bullet shape colon equivalent. Click into the cancel button.
Can you see something coming from the arrow?
I can see like a circular
Yeah.
thing around
Okay.
it.
So where is my arrow compared to that Dropbox window? Do I have to shift it right or down or something?
Oh, I don't see the Dropbox window like not here anymore.
Huh. Oh,
I think
okay.
it's cancelled already.
I should see on my screen.
Bullet arrow keys colon move up to space left parent. Key with text dock.
Latency issue. Okay, so I will start.
Windows left arrow.
Wait. Oh, what's
Title
happening?
list. Participants left parent 16 right parent.
Okay.
Escape. Media controls. General keyboard shortcuts for Windows 10 computers. Dash compatibility mode dashboard. General keyboard shortcuts for Windows 10 computers. Dash.
Okay, I'm safe. The window has disappeared. All right. You notice this is black, right?
Windows left arrow.
Yes.
My word. So yeah, so I guess along the way I can drop some comments about helping people who can still see. You know your Microsoft applications can change the themes, right? So I chose a black theme because a lot of people with low vision they prefer white text on black background. So if you go to um your Microsoft applications, the options there, then choose theme, you can choose dark, and it might help some people who can still see partially lah. Okay, so next is introductory comments, right? So this is about teaching people who use screen readers. So in case anybody wasn't around the last time, screen readers are software which, well, as the name suggests, read the screen to the user. They are meant for people who either can't see at all or have such poor vision that trying to see doesn't make sense, not productive. There are also some middle case where you maybe can still see. Oh, okay, yeah, it's still basically the bottom line. Seeing compared to not seeing, that it's not as productive trying to still use your site.
Media controls.
Somebody else in.
Participants left there 16 right there. Move button. Participants list join left there 16. Click the job left end. Tab 2 inch. Waiting room left there 1 right there. Battery ready. Submit button. Enter. Input search keyword. Find the participant edit. Participants list. Battery ready. Join dot dot dot. Escape. Media controls.
Okay, so
General keyboard shortcuts for Windows 10.
okay, so given that you're a screen reader user, the chances are good that you will not be able to see the arrow on the screen, so you can't really use a mouse. So if you don't use your mouse, you will have to use wait, Brian, I make you a co-host so you can help me let the people in.
Alt control shift space. Media controls. All new participants left there 16 right there. Amanda TV. Battery ready. Play sale. Yuli Shu. Catherine. Lisa. Mitraeli. Lisa. Yuli. Play sale. Computer. Battery ready. And Mr. Room. Amanda TV. Amanda TV. Desmond So. Computer. Click the job left there. Tam Jun Shoreline. Tam Jan. Stephanie Peck. Hank IE. Ben Rui Dylan. Mitraeli. Computer. Lisa. Computer. Catherine. Yuli Shu. Play sale. Battery ready. Computer. Ryan. Computer audio music video. I'm recording locally. Space. Context menu. Chat. Stop video. Pin. Spotlight for everyone. Make host. Make go dash host. Enter. Zoom. Do you want to make Ryan the go dash host of this? Close button. Do you want to make Ryan the yes button? Enter. Ryan. Computer audio music video. I'm recording locally. B. Media controls. Leaving menus. General keyboard shortcuts for Windows 10 computers. Dash compatibility mode dashboard. General keyboard shortcuts for Windows 10 computers. Level 1. Bullet windows. Misspelled. Keep.
Okay, so screen reader users will use keyboard to control the screen reader because they can't use the mouse or not very productive to use the mouse, right? So keyboard commands, keyboard commands, there are various names for them. I think the official name is keyboard shortcuts, but we often say keyboard commands or keystrokes. What happens is keyboard commands are divided loosely into two main categories, I would say. One is screen reader dependent, right? So depending on what screen reader you use, the keyboard commands will be different. But actually the larger group is the group of keyboard commands which are built into the applications or the system that you're using. Right, so this file which I sent you all, if you haven't opened, I suggest you all open, right? The general keyboard commands of Windows 10. Most, if not all of them, are that kind, the second kind. Basically, even if you don't have a screen reader running, you can still use these keyboard commands. Right, so actually teaching someone to use a computer when they're visually impaired is not really the same as teaching them how to use a screen reader, which is how most people like to talk about IT training for blind people. It's not teaching them to use JAWS, it's teaching them how to use keyboard commands. The screen reader is usually there just to provide spoken feedback so that you know what is happening and that you're at the right place and that you type all the right keys and so on. Okay, so with that out of the way, I will start. So go from the top of the screen.
General keyboard commands for Windows 10 computers.
Oh, I did some type.
Basics. General keyboard commands for Windows 10 computers.
Right, so wait, yeah, I'm supposed to slow down.
Select the voice profile. Key element left there. Enter. Microsoft Word document.
Right, so the screen reader will do things like read the title of the document once you switch to it, and you read. Right, the most basic is use your up and down arrow keys.
Basics. General keyboard commands for Windows 10 computers.
Right, so you can see the cursor is at that line, so it reads that line. It doesn't matter which part of that line your cursor is, they'll just read that whole line. So this sometimes becomes an issue when you're teaching them how to edit their text, because they think they're already at the part they want just because they hear it. But it's like they're on the same line but different part of that line. Right, so basics.
Basic level 1. Bullet Windows logo key left parent Windows key right parent colon open or close start menu.
Okay, so does anybody not know what this is referring to? Right. So if you look at your keyboard command, if you look at your keyboards, right, all of your keyboards, remember most of, if not all of these, all of you can use even without your screen readers, assuming you already started like NVDA or JAWS. Okay, so the second key to the left of your spacebar, that's the Windows logo key because it has the Windows logo on it, so it's called the Windows logo key. Sometimes you call it the Windows key, and sometimes you call it the Start key because it opens the Start menu, right? So press once.
Search box edit, type in text.
Right, so you see the thing comes up, and then it'll read something to you. It says search box type and text. It means you can type here. So if you press the same Windows key again.
General keyboard shortcuts for Windows 10 computers. Docs dash compatibility mode dash Word. Microsoft Word document.
It will go back to where you were just now, right? So Windows key.
Level 1. Bullet application key or shift plus F10 colon opens a shortcut menu left parent same as right dash clicking right parent.
Okay, so this one, it should be the second key to the right of the spacebar. Sometimes it's the third key to the right of the spacebar because some keyboards have a second Windows key on the right. Right, so it basically supposed to be that a picture of a menu or a rectangle with 3 lines in it, or how many lines in it. So the stylized representation of a menu, right? So some keyboard, some laptops, some computers don't have the application key, which is why I mentioned this alternative, Shift F10, right? So I would show Shift F10.
Shift F10, menu cut unavailable. To move through items, press up or down arrow T.
Okay, this one sometimes is this is position specific. So depending on the position of the cursor, right? If you press this key, it will be the same as right clicking at the point of the cursor. So again, where it is quite important, right? So take note of that.
Escape, leaving menus, edit.
Okay, at this point, it's good to introduce another basic concept. So for working with computers in general, there are 3 basic structures, if you like. So one is menus, right? So you see your start menu, your context menu. Okay, context menu is also sometimes called the application menu or the shortcut menu, right? And there's a third one, which is the menu bar, but nowadays is the ribbon. Okay, so there are 3 main menus. Menus will behave a certain way, right? Then the next thing is Windows, right? So Windows is like your Microsoft Word, there's a window. And then there's a third one called a dialog box. You can sort of think of a dialog box as a cross between a menu and a window. So what is significant? How do you operate menus? You must press specific keys to invoke the menus, right? So your Windows key for the Windows menu, your Shift F10 or your application key for your shortcut menu, and the Alt key, right? Alt key is either of the keys right next to the space bar. So the Alt key will take you to the menu bar or the ribbon. Then if you want to get rid of them, usually the way to get rid of menus is escape. So I can press escape for the Windows menu, I can press escape for the shortcut menu, I can press escape for to get out of the ribbon, right? Start menu, actually you like I already showed, you can also press the Windows key again to get out there. You can also press alternate a second time to get out of the menu bar. But context menu, let me see, I think
applications, adjust list indents,
right, so,
view, applications, separate list, L.
Yeah, so I can press application how many times, but the menu won't go away. So this one must use
escape, leaving menus, edit.
So Windows, on the other hand, you don't have specific keys to launch particular windows. So it's all like, depending on where you are, right? So it's a little bit like how you left click on something, right? So you can left click on just about everything, right? So opening Windows is like that. Close Windows, you can't use escape to close the window. You have to use a keyboard command down there, right? Alternate F4. Then dialog box is in the middle. It looks like a window, but it sometimes behaves like a menu in the sense that you can use escape to close it. And there is no specific command to launch the dialog box. So to me, the most significant thing about the dialog boxes is, you can't close them. You can close them using escape, but not Windows. Okay, so much for this.
Bullet tab : move to the bullet application key or shift plus F.
Okay, so another basic way of navigation. So for beginners of keyboard commands, screen readers who know practically nothing, their first friends are the arrow keys and the start menu. So arrow keys, if they don't know anything else, they can know that if you want to reread the current line, you can go down to another
Bullet
line
tab
and come back.
bullet application key or shift
Right, so-
bullet application key or
So if you never knew all the other things that you can do with screen readers, if you want to reread a line, this is the most basic thing.
bullet application
Go down,
key
go
or
up
shift
again.
plus F10 :
So when you start teaching somebody who is really totally new, you might not want to teach them the screen reader command for read the current line. Then you can just teach them this thing like just down and up or up and down, depending on your position. Although there are certain complicating factors, like if you're at the first line, you can't go up then down to reread the current line. And if you're at the bottom of the whole document, you can't go down then up to reread the current line, right? Obvious, I think no need to explain why, right?
bullet tab : move to the
So the next most basic command is the tab key aiding, right? So I would say for navigating around windows, so windows are divided into sections. They call it panes. So it's really carrying through the whole window analogy. So a window has panes, P-A-N-E, right? So your computer window also has panes. So basically panes are just sections. So you want to jump from one section to another, you can use the tab key. You can also use the F6 key for particular kinds of panes, which is getting more and more common nowadays. I think I will mention below. So this is how you can start to absorb the arrangement of navigation commands. So most basic, use arrow keys to move around within a fixed space. If you want to jump from one space to another, you can use the tab key or the shift tab, right? So
bullet shift plus tab :
Which is
move
the-
to the previous control in the dialog box / window.
right, this is the opposite direction from tab. And if tab doesn't work and you still want to get somewhere, you can try F6. Right.
Bullet space : checks are on.
Okay, so space is basically like a single left click of the mouse. So this one obviously depends on where you press your space. And of course, if you're typing, space is not going to be like left click, right? It will type a space instead.
Bullet enter : equivalent to.
So I will tell people that the difference between enter and space is not always like that, but if there is ever a difference, it is often a bit comparable to spacebar maps onto a single left click, while the enter maps to a double left click.
Roughly equivalent to single left click, and enter is roughly equivalent to
Yeah.
double. Bullet escape : equivalent to clicking the cancel button.
So I say escape to get rid of your menus, escape to get rid of the dialog box. So dialog box, usually you have a cancel button. So just know that this is like pressing the cancel button.
Bullet arrow keys : moves about within
Already
a fixed
mentioned the
space
arrows.
left parent E.G within a text document folder or views. Blank level 0. Des level 1. Bullet
Okay,
window
so okay, this document I guess I haven't updated for the F16. Okay, so
level 0. Des level 1. Bullet windows miss.
so Windows can combine with different keys. So keyboard shortcuts are not just about single keys. Is okay. I already started using two keys. I'm go like Shift F10 and Shift Tab. So you can combine the Windows key with different letters to have different functions, and these are the common ones.
Level 1. Bullet windows misspelled. Key plus T : goes to the pinned items list in the taskbar.
So this is the bottom left there next to that Windows logo thing, right?
Menu to move through items.
To be honest, I don't use this much and I don't usually teach people that. So this is good to know, but I think you can sort of start this as optional.
Title is meeting controls. Leaving menus, JAWS Professional. Leaving ribbons, general keyboard. Bullet windows misspelled. Key plus D or Windows misspelled. Key plus M : min.
Windows D is an important one. D stands for desktop, so that's how you memorize. So Windows D. So the way to press Windows D is hold down Windows, but D is you type the D.
Windows D. Folder view list view. Not selected. Recycle bin. 1 of 30. To move to items,
Okay,
use
this
the arrow
go to the
keys.
desktop.
To edit the selected item, press F2.
Okay, let me put something. But yeah, I think my computer's really a bit hung today.
General keyboard. JAWS meeting controls menu. Meeting controls to move through items. Alt V. Camera off.
Okay, hopefully that will
Escape. Leaving menus. General keyboard.
help. So do you see
Windows D.
the
Folder view
computer going
list
to the
view.
desktop when
Not
I press
selected.
Windows D?
Recycle bin. 1 of 30 to move.
Yep.
Okay, so if you press Windows D again, it's supposed to go back to that the last document you were doing.
Windows D. General keyboard
Yeah.
shortcuts for Windows
So,
10 computers.
bit relieved that happened.
Compatibility.
Okay, but yeah, having said that, when we use this Windows D command, we don't usually use the reversing function. Okay, I think most people don't realize that if you press Windows D a second time, you'll go back to the original document before you press that. So Windows D or Windows M is basically the show desktop icon, which some of you might use for occasionally, right, to minimize everything. So Windows M, how to memorize that is M for minimize all. Okay, so Windows M will go to the desktop, and different from Windows D. If you do Windows M a second time, it will not reverse back to the document that it came from.
Bullet Windows.
Okay, why mention two commands here? Because Windows D, like I was saying, a lot of keyboards only have one Windows key on the left hand side, and D is also on the left hand side. So when you teach the user, they are supposed to be like typing the keyboard with 8 letters, 8 fingers, right? So if you all are familiar with this idea, right, the touch typing technique, right? So if your fingers are in your home key position, your A, S, D, F, and JKL semicolon, pressing the Windows key with the letter D basically is like one hand. Can be done. I do it all the time, but some people, especially the beginners, might find it a bit challenging, which is why you then suggest Windows M, because M, you can use your right hand to type M, and left hand you will press the Windows key. But for young people, which I think is what you're supposed to be teaching, they should have enough flexibility and agility to learn Windows D. So it is about, you can sort of get into practice, right? You put their hands on the ASDF position, but they tuck their thumb under the hand, right? You sort of let them practice using the thumb to feel for the Windows key. Basically, you feel from the spacebar, feel second key to left. After you get used to it, it's really like, don't even need to do like find spacebar then feel to left. Right? So I suggest doing this because I think Windows D is a bit easier to remember because D for desktop. And yeah, being able to do things with one hand always has advantages.
Bullet Windows key +1 : same as clicking on the first pin.
Okay, so then you have all this Windows 1, Windows 2, Windows.
Bullet Windows key +2, 3, 4, 0.
Again, this one is something I don't normally teach people. You could also start this as optional command, but it can be quite handy if you do use those icons next to the Windows logo a lot, right? Because then it's like clicking the first icon, right? That's the same as Windows 1. Then if you Windows 2 is same as clicking the second icon, depending on how many icons are pinned, right? Pinned to the Windows, next to the Windows logo. So keep this in mind, but not necessarily very important.
Taskbar, if applicable. Bullet Windows misspelled. Key +tab : goes to the running applications list in the task.
Again, this is not the very important kind. It will go to the taskbar. So there's section to the right of all the pin icons on the taskbar. So you can go there to do left and right to choose between running applications and then choose from there. Like, you know, if you notice, I was running through like about 1 million windows on my computer desktop. So I suppose as someone who's supposed to be making use of what I know, I should be doing like Windows tab and then left and right arrow, choose the application I want. But yeah, it just goes to show you how uncommon this one is. But yeah, for your knowledge.
Bullet Windows misspelled. Key +B : goes to the notification area.
This is important. Windows B. I'm not very sure why they use B. I will usually tell B for a status bar for whatever help that is. So it goes to the bottom right there with the time and the icons and the system tray. It could be useful for people who can't remember commands like check the time, check the battery level, because you go Windows B and then you can find, right, use left and right arrows or up and down arrows also will work to hear the time, date, battery level, whether you're connected to the Wi-Fi. And the other important thing, reason why I teach this is so that they will learn how to safely remove your thumb drive. Right? So you all know this concept, right? Safely remove thumb drive. Before you pull out, you must go there, click on that safely remove thing, and then choose your thumb drive. I know a lot of people don't do that, they just pull out, but I usually teach this as a good practice.
Bullet Windows misspelled. Key plus X colon same as right dash click.
Okay, so this is, I will teach for the sake of shutting down computers. So if I press Windows X,
Windows X context menu apps and features to move.
you can basically understand Windows X as right clicking on the Windows logo. Then you have options for working with various things lah. But the most useful reason why I teach this is the shutdown option is down here. So if you press, you can use arrow up and down.
Mobility power event sys device network disk map compute Windows PowerShell Windows PowerShell task manager settings N file explorer search S run shutdown or sign out sub menu U.
Right, so down here, okay, the other thing about menus, right? If you want to open the sub menu, you can either use right arrow or enter. So I usually prefer right arrow.
Sign out I.
Then arrow up and down.
Sign out I. Shut down or sign out sub menu.
So
escape. Leaving menus. Microsoft Word. Bullet Windows. Miss.
But yeah, if you really are into the somewhat more sophisticated level of operating computers, then you know there are other options in this menu which could be useful for people who want to do like advanced settings, troubleshooting kind of thing.
Options including bullet Windows misspelled key plus X colon same as right.
You might notice, right, they say something misspelled. So when there are spelling errors or what Microsoft Word understands as spelling errors because it's not standard English words, the software will also announce misspelled or something to that effect. If you're using NVDA, it might say something slightly different. They might accompany with sound effects, all depending on the settings in your screen reader.
Options including shutdown. Bullet Windows misspelled key plus I colon brings up the settings window.
Right, if you want to go to settings, Windows I have no idea why they use I, but yeah. Again, your usual computer student won't need this. So I think you also start it as optional.
Bullet Windows misspelled key plus A colon brings up the action center.
This one could be useful because you want to check notifications from your computer. Like the one irritating thing about screen readers is those things which pop up in the corner. Sometimes they don't announce, or they announce and then go away too quickly for you to hear properly. So you can press Windows A to jump there and then tap a bit and arrow a bit to listen to the messages there. I personally find this useful. So I'm sort of betting that these young people you're supposed to be teaching, they should be trained to be competent. So I believe this is a necessary skill. But again, honestly, the people I train, I don't even get this far to mention things like action center. Their abilities are a bit too limited to even try that.
Bullet Windows misspelled key plus E colon opens file.
This is quite important. Windows E, E for Explorer. So it is to open the file Explorer. In the past, it used to be called Windows Explorer. Right? So Windows E.
Windows E. This PC items view list box.
Make an arrow around.
Devices and drives expand. 3D
right? So you
objects.
notice you're in the main window here. Pane. If you want to do
tree view level 1,
you can shift that here to the tree view. That's the thing on the left. Yeah, you can map up and down.
Document 3D objects.
Yeah, I think I'll come back to this.
Alt F4 general key blank level 0. Controls for working with a window or level 1. Bullet Windows misspelled key plus E colon open.
Yeah, this is quite important to me because you need to find your files and documents. The other way to get to your files and folders is if you have shortcuts placed to those folders on your desktop. Then you should be Windows D, find the thing you want and open.
Blank.
But not everything can be found that way. So I think Windows E is quite important to know. If nothing else, sometimes your thumb drive, I think it's needed for accessing your thumb drive because computers nowadays don't automatically open the thumb drive for you.
Level 0. Controls for working with a window or dialog box. Level 1. Bullet Alt colon goes to menu bar left pair ribbon tab misspelled. Bullet Alt plus underlined letter colon.
This is important. So basic concepts again. So if you were to let me see, what can I call up?
Control Shift F font Asian text font colon edit combo Arial.
So this is a dialog box for choosing font settings. Then you will, if you look through the options on this dialog box, a lot of them have this one letter underline actually all of them should have at least one, should have only one letter underlined in each option. So
Font : edit combo plus body. To set the value, use the arrow keys or type the value.
okay.
Font style : edit combo regular. To set the value, use the arrow keys or type the value.
Let's see.
Size : edit combo 11. To set the value, use the arrow keys or type the value.
Okay, so there's actually something here which is not present right now. So if you were to look, for example, right now I'm at the font size. If you look at the word size above the dialog box, the letter S is underlined. If you were to look at the font type, the letter F is underlined. Let's see.
Alt F font : edit combo plus body. To set the value, use the arrow keys or
Okay,
type
so
the
I
value.
just press alternate F. So that's what that particular line was talking about. If you press alternate plus that underline letter in what in this dialog box you see, it basically will jump the screen reader to that particular option. And let me see what else is there.
Font color left, emphasis mark, double strike through checkbox not checked. To check, press space bar, Alt plus L.
So this is the other point I was trying to make, which unfortunately doesn't seem to be consistent. If you hear, right, double strike through, read through the whole thing, then at the end it says Alt plus L. So this is a hint to the user. It tells the user that the letter L in this option is underlined. So then that what I mentioned just now about our alternate plus underline comes into play here. But yeah, I think if you all were paying attention and realize what's going on, I was tabbing through just now the options for font type, font size, but they didn't announce, like, for example, Alt S or Alt F. So I am also not sure what's going on. Sometimes this could be some inconsistencies in the programming for the screen reader. Ideally, they should be announcing. I think in older versions of Microsoft Office and screen readers, they do announce Alt S and all that. I think that's how I learned these commands for the Alt S one. Right, so if I do Alt S now,
Alt S size : edit combo 11. To
right,
set the
then
value, use the arrow keys or
okay,
type
so
the
now I'm at the
value.
size, but if I now I do alternate L,
Alt L double strike through checkbox checked. To clear check mark, press space bar, Alt plus
so
L.
there's this additional effect here. You see, Alt L not only jumps to the double strike through option, it also like selects that double strike through option, right? So so this is to take note of. It means that if you do alternate plus underline, there's an option there could be a very high possibility that you basically will activate the item that you jump to as well, right? So this all comes like, you could basically this is a little bit like translation already in some sense. So if you are a sighted user and you are doing things your normal sighted way with your mouse, right? How to translate what you are doing to a language that a screen reader user will understand, right? Is you pay attention to whether there are these underline letters, and you probably could test a little bit to see what happens when you do that, right? So if you see underline letter, there's a usually it means that alternate plus underline letter will jump to the option and select it. There are some cases where you don't need to press alternate, just the underline letter will do. For example, okay, let me get out this.
Edit.
So
Applications menu. Looking for suggestions. Unavailable. To move through menu. Add to dictionary. To move through items, press up or down arrow A.
Okay, so this menus is another area where there's underline letters. But as compared to what that previous line was saying, you definitely don't press alternate down here. In menus, there's no need to use alternate. It's always that single underline letter only. And so it says add to dictionary .a. So it means that if you press A, you will jump to this option. It is probably worth pointing this thing to your student, because it sort of equips them with this meta knowledge, right, which will help them to be independent learners, which unfortunately most of the people I work with, yeah, they're not at the level where they can try to comprehend meta level knowledge. But yeah, we hold out more hope for our young people, so you can try and see whether they notice this. Sort of play by ear. If you assess that they are struggling to just understand the basics, then don't teach them these higher level things. Yeah.
Ignore all G.
So ignore all G, right? So that tells you you can press G, right?
Escape. Spelling submenu. Cut unavailable. T. Escape. Leaving menu.
And so once again, get rid of menus by pressing escape.
Not required to go to the option with the underlined letter semicolon.
so I
Options and
mentioned that.
dialog. Bullet alt plus down arrow colon opens a options and dialog box.
Okay.
Bullet alt.
This one not common, doesn't happen common often, but you probably do need to tell people about this. So combo boxes, again, going back to that.
Control Shift F. Font style size font underline style colon combo box left parent none right parent to change
Okay,
the
so
selection
right
use
now
the
I'm at
arrow
the
keys. Alt
underline
plus
style in this dialog box. Is a combo box, right? What you might sometimes understand is drop down menu or drop down box. So if you're using a mouse, you click on that. Is there supposed to be a downward pointing arrow here, right? So if you click on that one, the menu will open. But if you are a screen reader user, okay, there are two options. One, you can directly use arrow down and up.
Words only. 2 single 3 double 4 of
Right,
18.
so it does work here. Or
underline color left pair underline
you can use alternate down
open
arrow.
list box.
So you notice there's a difference, right? Or at least I think there's supposed to be. If you just arrow up and down, they don't open the drop down. They just go through all the options, right? But if you alternate down, they expand the drop down and let you run through all the things.
Thick dotted dash 8 of 18.
This is usually not necessary, but at least in web pages, sometimes this is significant because there are some web pages where the combo box, so there are combo boxes in web pages as well, right? But if you go inside the combo box and you start using arrow up and down to move to different options, there are some cases where as soon as you move to a different option in the combo box, that page loads with the new option, which you often don't want that to happen. So that is a case where you need to do alternate down arrow so that you can then move through the options without activating the page to load that option. So
escape edit options and dialog boxes while not required for.
So hopefully as I do all this, instead of falling asleep, you also are taking note that what keyboard commands I'm using, and you will hopefully appreciate that they are just all the things I've been talking about. Right? So that's to emphasize how this is really basic stuff.
Bullet alt plus down arrow colon opens a combo box.
So.
Bullet control plus O colon opens the open.
Okay, control O is open. So I just stated because it's quite common in the past, but might not need to use that nowadays.
Bullet control plus N colon open.
Control N is useful, opens a new whatever. So when you're writing a new email, Control N will open a new mail. When you're in a Word document, Control N opens a new Word document. When you're in PowerPoint, Control N opens a new PowerPoint file. Right, Control N is definitely very useful.
Bullet control plus S colon saves.
Another definitely very useful one, Control S for save. Lots of places will have Control S for save, but sort of be warned that Control S doesn't always lead to save.
Bullet control plus P colon opens the print dialog box.
Same thing, right? Usually Control P with the print command, but not always.
Bullet alt plus F4 colon closes the.
This is the other more very critical and basic keyboard command, alternate F4, right? So to close your windows, you use alternate F4, right? So I already said just now, right? So escape to close menus, alternate F4 to close windows. Dialog boxes, you can use either alternate F4 or escape, but who wants to use alternate F4 when there's escape, right? So easy.
Page 2, bullet control plus F4 colon closes.
This is a unique case of a variation of alternate F4. Potentially useful in web browsers where you guys have this understanding of this concept called tab browsing, right? So in the same window, you have many tabs. So alternate F4 will close the whole window. But if you have multiple tabs in that window, Control F4 is like closing a sub window of that window. So if you understand tabs as a sub window, Control F4 is closing a sub window. But nowadays I will teach people Control W, which is W for window, right? So close window. I think because easier to press, right? But however, teaching alternate F4 versus to Control F4 does have its like strategic learning and memorizing advantage because alternate F4 and Control F4 is both F4 except is some what we call the modifier key is different.
Bullet control plus W colon could behave like alt plus F4 control. So
Control W will close sub windows until there's no sub window, then you close the window.
Bullet alt plus tab colon switch to another.
The other most useful commands to teach alternate tab. In fact, when I work with people who can still see to some extent, and they are quite resistant to using of the millions of keyboard commands, I would tell them at least learn alternate tab, alternate F4. And yeah, at least learn these two, because they definitely make life easier. If you have trouble looking for that little cross at the top right hand corner of the window, trying to close it with the mouse, alternate F4 really saves them so much time. However, if they are resistant to learning even this most useful one, then yeah, too bad lah.
Bullet Alt plus Tab colon switch to another open window. Bullet Control plus W colon bullet
So
Alt
alternate
plus
tab. So alternate tab, if I do this, so alternate tab,
menu meeting controls to
the alternate
leaving
tab,
menus to move to an item. Press the arrow keys. Page 2. Microsoft Word
alternate
meeting
tab,
controls. Leaving
alternate tab.
menus to
So you notice every time I press alternate tab, it's only switching between these two. But you know I have those millions of other windows open, right? So this is where the next part comes
view
in.
the task dash switching window semicolon. Hold down Alt key and press Tab repeatedly to cycle through.
Okay, so alternate tab only switch between the last two open windows. So you want to switch through the more than the last two, you want last 3, last 4, last 5, last whatever, you hold down alternate, right? So as you press alternate, then you press tab,
Meeting controls to move to
you
an
should
item. Press
actually
the arrow
see
keys.
something in the middle of the screen, right? This is called the what? Task switching pane or something.
JAWS Professional.
So as I'm holding down my alternate key as I press tab. So every time press tab is tab, let go, but your alternate don't let go.
Inbox dash quick your daily brief 3 colon links to
So it
down
just
left
tells me
bracket
all
3
the
colon
things.
you have a
You read the
feedback on
title of
operational matters dash message voicemail posters dash at 3 colon progress on 3 colon SAV8 temp tutorial material.
Right, it will just announce the title of the window that you're going to go to. So if this is the one you want, you let go alternate, then you
Temp
switch over to
tutorial material items view
I personally find this very useful. There should be use cases for people that you teach. Yeah, but again, basic learners, they're happy to just work with two windows. More than two windows, they also get confused. Then yeah, but yeah, I think this is quite necessary.
General keyboard shortcuts for Windows 10. All open windows. Bullet Control plus Tab.
Once again, so you have alternate F4, then Control F4. So similarly, you have alternate tab and then Control tab. So once again, this is useful in the case of, for example, the web browser with multiple tabs. Control tab will jump between tabs within the same browser window. The other area where this is useful is, again, back to my font dialog box. So you know the font has several sections, right? So down here is also where you can use Control tab.
Advanced tab selected.
Right.
Font tab selected to switch pages.
I pressed Control tab just now. So when I do that, they switch. It's basically like clicking on those two things at the top there. So if you see a dialog box with many of these things at the top, that's where you can use Control tab. I guess that's another feature of dialog boxes, which is probably different from Windows, right? So web browsers, you do have tabs, but they don't quite look the same as these tabs at the top of dialog boxes. And speaking of which, when you go to the top,
cancel button, font tab selected to switch pages.
Okay. Some software will talk about tab control when you jump to the top here, right? Control tab is useful but not necessary, because like you can just do the tab. You know, remember I was saying the basic thing is tab, right? So tab.
Font tab selected to switch pages.
Then you can use arrow.
Advanced tab select font tab.
Right, arrow.
Font tab advanced tab
then you
select
can tab
scale
code. So remember what I was saying, right? So tab to jump to different sections, arrow within the same section, and then tab to the next section. So tap to the top there, then use arrow left and right to switch between the two things at the top. Then you tap to jump out of that top section into the details of that section.
Spacing colon scale space by position by colon edit by scale colon font tabs.
Okay, I still prefer Control tab.
Escape edit page 2 bullet alt plus space colon displays the main Windows system menu left parent.
Okay, so
alt space menu system menu restore to move through
so
items.
that's the system menu at the top left there.
Move unavailable, size unavailable, S.
So again, you have that thing what I mentioned just now. The underline letter is announced, so S or M.
Minimize N.
N. So they will also announce things like unavailable. So unavailable because it's unavailable lah. So why is it unavailable? Because the window is maximized. So if there's maximized, then there's no size that you can adjust. If it's maximized, you cannot move it. So that's why those options are not available. So if I do the other thing,
Maximize, minimize, maximize,
yeah, so already maximized, so unavailable.
close, restore, R.
Restore.
Enter, leaving menus, page 2.
So
Edit,
now you see
page
the window is smaller size. Then now when you do alternate
Alt
space,
space, menu, system menu, restore unavailable to move, M.
right, move.
Enter, leaving menus,
This is really a bit gimmicky and nobody really uses this, but sort of it's fun. So now that I've chosen move, I can move. Is the window moving?
enter, Microsoft Word document, page 2.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so so if for whatever strange reason a visually impaired person wants to move the window around, they have this option.
Alt space, menu,
so same
system
thing.
menu, restore unavailable to move through items, press up or down arrow, R.
So like I was saying, right? N is underlined, so you press N.
N, leaving menus, temp tutorial material,
So
items,
that window is minimized and it goes to the next one.
general keyboard shortcuts for Windows.
But nowadays there are other things other commands you can use. Basically, if you want to maximize the window, you can do Windows up arrow.
Windows up arrow.
And if you want to restore, you can do Windows down arrow
Windows
once.
down arrow.
And you want to minimize, you can do Windows down arrow second time.
Windows down arrow. Temp tutorial material. Page 2. General. Windows up arrow.
So this one, I think this command came in at Windows 7, which is roughly around how old your guys are, right? So so really, students nowadays, you don't use that spacebar thing, alternate spacebar thing much, but it's a useful trick to know if for whatever reason something else is not working.
Move, resize, minimize, bullet Windows, misspelled, key plus up arrow, maximizes
so
a
Windows up
bullet
arrow,
Windows,
Windows
misspelled, key
down.
plus down arrow, blank. Level 0. Common navigation controls. Level 1. Bullet left or right arrow, moves left or 9:58 a.m.
Okay, that is a lot of things to digest already. Do you all need a 5-minute break?
Yes, sir. We can we can come back at like 10:05.
Okay, so break here, then we'll continue. Yeah, this is
Okay.
actually it's still not quite everything I want to cover for basic computer navigation, but well, never mind. We'll have a break. We'll do some text editing, then I see whether I come back to this general navigation thing. All right, so see you all in 5 minutes.
Alt upper ribbon, home tab, escape, leaving menus, leaving ribbons, menu, meeting controls to Alt 10:05 a.m. Unmute. Currently muted. Alt+A button. Audio. Start video left. Unmute. Space. Video. Security. Open participants panel. 16 participants. Alt+U button.
All right. Everybody back?
I think no, not yet.
Okay. They sign out or what? Okay.
know.
You see them like video off, is it?
Yeah.
Everybody's like very good children, all follow the convention when it's supposed to be in class, you turn on video.
I think in class actually I don't turn on, but
Okay, so you
when
know
when it's
whether they're in or
a
not.
but when it's a smaller group, I will.
Okay.
I I think the
Anyway, we're recording this, so if they miss anything, they can just come back to this.
can.
So maybe I take stock at this point. Does anybody actually feel like doing hands-on right now before I move on to something else? Or because having said all this, it's still not necessarily enough content to start doing hands-on. But does anybody want to do hands-on at this point first?
Nishan, you will have a question, is it?
Oh yeah, I won't be looking at the chat. So if you drop anything in the chat, somebody help let me know.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Y'all can unmute yourself, right? So yeah, go ahead. Anybody has any questions? Just ask away. No.
Page 2. Leaving menus. Edit. Page 2.
So
I think so far no question yet.
okay, can. Then I'll just continue now. Maybe I'll probably set you all a task a bit. Then you really can have hands-on. Okay, so I think I'll go on to this next section first. Let me see how much I cover all this document. Then I might go back to the general navigation thing. Okay, so this next section is about things related to working with text.
Bullet control plus left or right arrow. Bullet left or right arrow level 0. Common navigation control.
Okay, so navigation, basically reading the text. This is not just restricted to Microsoft Word. It can be for Excel, PowerPoint, web browsers, emails. Okay, so you already know, right? The most utter basic command for navigation is up and down arrows, and to some extent you have left and right arrows. So if you want to read enough content, is up and down. I think people will be crazy to use left and right to read everything. But yeah.
Level 1. Bullet left or right arrow : moves left or right by 1 character.
Oh, I was already saying, right? So up and down is line by line, but if you do left and right.
E, F, T, space, O, R, space, R, I, G, H, T.
Okay.
Tango.
So software is usually configured so that it can tell you the difference between capital letters and small letters. So you will hear higher pitch for capital letters. I usually configure NVDA to beep when there are capital letters, because I think the voice that NVDA usually uses, at least last time, can't change tone or change pitch. So there are various settings for this. Maybe if anybody here gets adventurous and comfortable enough playing with settings, they can find it. Basically, you can set the software to say caps before the capital letter, or speak with a higher pitch when changing of pitch is available, or the other one is a beeping tone. So NVDA, I usually set beeping tone because you don't need to waste extra milliseconds trying to announce the word caps, and it doesn't interrupt the thing so much, right? So to play around with that, if you're up to it.
Space A R R.
Okay, and whatever
Romeo.
you hear, yeah, let me repeat.
R R. Romeo.
Okay, so Romeo, JAWS at least has this setting where if you stop at the letter and pause a while, they'll say something like Alpha, Delta, Romeo, Tango, November, Mike, whatever lah. So this is useful if, for example, letter N and letter M, you always have trouble telling the difference. Letter B and letter D will always have trouble telling the difference. Sometimes even your C and your Z, you also can have trouble telling difference. So if you wait a while, then you say Zulu, okay, that's that. I can't remember what's for Charlie. Is it Charlie? No, I think it's not Charlie. But yeah, the idea is there. So you can sort of use this to highlight to someone if you notice that they're always typing the wrong letters all the time. Another important reading behavior is when you do left and right, you will notice what happens is they are actually announcing the letter to the right of the cursor.
O W
Colon.
space
Even the punctuation.
M Mike.
But on the other hand, if you were to type, right? If I type
P
you notice the P is on the left of the cursor. So this is quite important to highlight to the user. But unfortunately, this is also something that causes a lot of confusion. So again, depending on level of competency, what happens? I'll come back to this later. I think it's down there as well. Right?
E bullet control plus left or right arrow.
So like I was saying, right, if you're trying to use left and right arrow to read through a line, I'll tell you you're crazy, unless you are trying to spell out that word, right? So what happens is you have control left and right. So control key, right? What I usually refer to as the main block of letters on your keyboard. The two bottom corners are the control key, and of course you can see CTRL on the key. Right, so if you hold down either of the key, and then you press your left and right arrow. So hold down control, then right or left is just press and let go. So
Colon moves left or right.
Right, so this is going forward.
Or left moves.
Right, so word by word. It's faster. Makes more reading sense. If you spell letter by letter, you have to sort of try and absorb the letter and then guess the whole word afterwards, right? As compared to control left and right, you read the whole word. So if you are on the current line and you want to move to a point on the line where there's error or something, my teaching approach is always you first use up or down arrow, move to the error line or the point of interest, if you like, the line of interest. Then use control left or right to get to the specific point. And then if the problem or issue is in the middle of the word, then you switch to just purely left or right arrow. Right, so important take note now.
Bullet up or down arrow colon moves up or down by one
Pretty much
line.
up and down.
Bullet control plus up or down.
This one I often don't teach, but it could be useful. Actually, I found this as a bit of a hack for reading web pages, because for some reason, sometimes the web pages, the up and down arrow can get the screen reader trapped in the content. So in those cases, I found that control up or control down surprisingly helps to get out of the place where it's trapped. I don't think I'll be able to give you any examples, but if you do get so gung-ho, you're hands-on and read through the content on your own, I think sooner or later you'll come across content where for some reason, as you try to arrow up or down through the content, the screen reader just keeps repeating the same content. It goes around in circles. Yeah, so that's what I meant by getting trapped. Sometimes it's just like they don't move anywhere at all. Right? But if you do something like control down, control up, then it will just jump to something else. Then you're sort of freed from that cycle. Sometimes it's the reverse. You do control up or down, it gets trapped. Then you have to stop using control, just arrow up or down. So reading web pages quite often is like whatever little tricks you know, and then just use them to read the page. Right?
Bullet home or end keys colon moves to the begin.
Right. So on a standard keyboard, above your arrow keys. Oh yeah. So the arrow keys, in case anybody doesn't realize, there are 4 arrow keys on your keyboard. On a normal layout keyboard, they form what we refer to as an upside down T at the bottom of the keyboard, right, between the number pad and the main block of letters, right? So reverse T makes it very easy to find the keys and very easy to press. One hand can press all 4 keys quite easily, right? Which is why laptop layouts are quite a headache for a lot of people, because all the keys are so close together you can't find them. But anyway, so above this reverse T, you have usually is a block of 6 keys, right? It can be 2 rows of 3 or 3 rows of 2, but the usual what I refer to as a standard layout is 2 rows of 3, right? So on this block of 6 keys, the top left is the insert, bottom left is delete, middle top is home, middle down is end, top right is page up, bottom right is page down. So home and end are the two keys in this block here, which are very useful. Basically, they go to the beginning or end of the line. Let me see.
Page.
Right, so I press home
Hotel.
now.
Home. H.
Right,
Hotel.
it's now at the beginning of the line and end.
End. Blank.
Yeah, it's at the end of the line. Right, so again, there's
Home. H.
something to take note about the reading behavior, but I think I'll just let you all try and appreciate that yourself. Okay.
Bullet control plus home or end colon moves to the beginning or end of the document or web page.
Okay, control home or control end, right? So home or end is beginning or end of one line. Control home, control end is the beginning or end of the whole document. So you can sort of think of control as a larger upsized version of the single key, just like how control left, control right is a sort of upsize of left and right. Right? So instead of one letter is one word. Control up and control down is an upsize of up and down, because up and down is one line. Control up, control down is one paragraph, which is like many lines. Right? So you can use that to try and remember these commands.
Bullet page up or page down colon moves.
These next few ones are somewhat not so useful. Basically, page up and page down, you can just understand it as jump a random number of lines up or down. They are never really one proper page, right? So it's misleading to call them page up, page down. Maybe page up, page down in the sense of one screen up and one screen down. But the idea is it's not reliable to say how many lines they jump. Just know that they jump many lines. This is only like a rough scrolling tool to some extent. If you want to jump quickly through a very long document, you will use page up, page down.
Bullet control plus page up or page down colon moves to the top of the previous or next page.
So again, yeah, as a teaching point, most of the time I don't teach my students page up, page down, or control page up, control page down, because it's really very optional. If you press your up and down arrows really fast, that's page up and page down. Control page up and control page down actually often don't even work. If you're in Word, actually control page up and control page down are basically like jump to the next instance of a search phrase. Except that when there's no search phrase typed in, they will jump by pages, really pages. So that's when control page up, control page down will jump by page. But yeah, because it's not super useful and it can be a mouthful to explain, I usually don't teach this. There are other places where control page up and control page down are important, like in PDF files. Okay, now since I'm not really going to cover that, I'll mention it here. Control page up, control page down is necessary to move through the pages in a PDF document, or at least in my experience. There seems to be some cases where you can directly use up or down arrow to move through all the pages in a PDF file. But most of the time, my experience has been that if you're in a PDF file, if you're on page 1, if you keep pressing down, you'll get stuck at the bottom of page 1. You can't go to page 2. To go to page 2, you have to do control page down and reverse for control page up. So that is one point to take note, right? So for PDF, control page up, control page down is really page, right, navigation, and it's actually necessary to know that for PDF.
Bullet shift plus left parent any of the above navigation
Okay,
controls.
so this is highlighting, right? So I show you now. So shift right.
Bullet S, so H, I, F, T plus left A, and Watts O, F, selected.
Right? So as you hold down the shift key, as you move your cursor around, that is like highlighting the text, right? So you can also do
Space.
So control shift right.
Space, above, navigation, selected.
And if you go in the opposite direction, it's unhighlight.
Navigation,
or unselect.
above, unselected.
And they also tell you something unselected. Similarly, so you do shift.
Selected, P or page down.
This is important here. I'm in the middle of a line when I do shift down, so it doesn't highlight the complete line. So this is very important to highlight to your student as well, because they often think that just because they press shift down, the whole line is highlighted, but they sort of forget the point I mentioned earlier, right? You need to know where your cursor is on this line when you press shift. So this actually has other very practical application is if you want to highlight from a middle line, what happens, right? So if you want to highlight from middle line,
bullet page up.
Okay, the other thing is you can combine. So I can do shift
A, G, E, selected.
So this is letter by letter highlighting. Then I can change to using
space, selected.
Word by word.
Down, select colon, move, selected.
Then I can combine it with shift down.
Selected, up or down by several.
So basically you don't need to stick to the same navigation command when you combine it with shift. So this is important when you want to highlight a chunk of text. So the idea is you start from the beginning of the chunk you want, or actually you can also highlight backwards. So the idea being whichever place you start from, if you go shift left, it will highlight leftwards. If you shift right, it will highlight rightwards. So the idea is your starting point is where you start highlighting. Then if you do move in opposite direction from your original beginning direction, that is unhighlighting. Is, I thought you use your mouse, right? Your mouse, you can click and shift and drag left, or you can shift and drag right? So same idea, right? Shouldn't be difficult to understand. So so let's say the chunk of text you want is the beginning of line, the second word in from line 2 up to the third last word in line 5, right? So you can go to line 2 there, right? You can use things like arrow up or down, control left and right, get to that word. Then from there on, you must do shift. You can do shift down twice, right? So you can go down to line 5, right? So then you will be roughly directly below the second word of line 3, right? But at line 5. Then from then on, you can hold down the shift and press the N key. Then it will basically highlight the rest of line 5. Let me show you then.
Bullet control plus home or at beginning. The 2 moves colon and plus home.
Right. So let's say I'll start from here. So shift down.
Selected home or end colon moves to selected
down.
upper page down colon moves up or down by several lines left parent 1 screen right parent bullet control plus.
Right. So control plus. So let's say I actually want to highlight something else at the end of the line. So I can first highlight the rest of this line. So shift N here. So like I was saying, you can switch between the navigation commands. You always hold down a shift key. Of course, you can let go shift now. So as long as the next time you press your navigation command, you press back your shift, then it's as good as you were holding down the whole time. So
selected page up or page down colon moves to the top of the previous or next page.
So let's say I don't want the words next page. Then I can do control shift left, right? Because moving down and right is one direction. Moving left and up is opposite direction. So control, in this case, I don't want the word, so it's control shift left.
Blank, unselect page, unselect next, or unselected.
Right. So this is how you will highlight a whole chunk where it's part of one line and then part of the next line and then the whole of the middle lines. If you are in a situation where you want to highlight maybe some parts from paragraph 1 and then some parts from paragraph 2, unfortunately you have to do that in 2 rounds now. So highlight something with the 1 first, paste somewhere else, then come back and highlight something with the paragraph 2 and then paste somewhere else. Okay, so
bullet shift plus left parent any of the above nav bullet control plus A colon select all.
Okay, so this is the easiest for someone who just wants everything, right? I think I won't try. Control A, highlight everything. Do I need to demonstrate that? No, I think don't need.
Blank, level 0, common editing control.
Okay, so that's for moving around and highlighting text. So after you highlight text, what can you do?
Level 1, bullet control plus C colon copy.
So after you highlight the stuff, you can copy it.
Bullet control plus X colon, bullet control plus V colon paste.
The trick here is, of course, C for copy is somewhat easy to remember. Why is it not C for cut? Right? Yeah, because they want to use C for copy. So then why do they choose X for cut? Actually, if you notice, right, is X, C, V are all next to each other. That could be part of the reason. Another reason, I'm not sure whether it's their reason, but it's another trick to help people memorize. So the X, basically, you can imagine it to resemble a scissors, right? So scissors will cut, right? So control X will cut. And then control V, back in the days when everybody was still using pen and paper, if you sort of left out something, one way is to put the reverse V shape at the bottom of the line and then write the thing above, right? But the other way is something like draw a V shape thing and then write the words above that. So you can solve. Yeah, if you live in that age where people do this kind of thing, then that can help the student understand. But yeah, if you're teaching our blind students, that one not meaningful. I'm not even sure whether teaching them scissors is meaningful, but I think possibly still meaningful. So I guess paste the way to help them memorize is X, C, V all next to each other. So you already have cut and copy, what's left is paste.
Bullet control plus Z colon undo.
Right, so I sort of, it's possible to intuitively appreciate why it's Control Z for undo. Yeah, so if you do something by mistake, let's say,
Bullet control plus
yeah, I did that just now, so I type the nonsense. So if I do Control Z now,
undo. Bullet control plus V colon paste.
yeah, so you see, Control Z, they undo all the mistakes. So this is useful when you don't know what mistakes you did. So you can do Control Z or Z, then you can check where are you and you see whether you have been saved. If you find that that's still like far from where you were originally supposed to be, you can do Control Z again. Apparently you can do Control Z many times. So just take note that if you don't know how much is being undone, you need to sort of check your position every time you press Control Z to see how much has been undone.
Bullet control plus Z colon undo. Bullet control plus Y colon re dash do.
Okay, so Control Y is the opposite of Control Z. So I suppose the memorizing trick is, yeah, Z and Y next to each other.
Bullet backspace or delete colon delete.
So this is the thing which I was going to talk about, which creates a lot of confusion. So
D E
I told you, right, left and right,
space.
what is being read out is to the right of the cursor. But if you're typing, whatever you type comes out on the left of the cursor, right? Then on top of that, you have this amazing desire for the designer to confuse you further. If you, okay, delete key, I just mentioned there's a delete key, right? And I assume you all know where is the backspace key. So if I type
S,
if I type backspace,
S,
yeah, it deletes the S and it says S. It tells you that you deleted the S. However, if
D,
you know I hear
delta.
D, right? Now if I press delete,
E,
they will delete
echo.
D, but they'll tell you what's on the right of D. Okay, so there's obviously a point to having backspace compared to delete, right? So sometimes you want to delete to the left, sometimes you delete to the right. So backspace is for deleting to the left and delete is for deleting to the right. However, the reading behavior is leaves much to be desired. You can sort of appreciate why they designed it this way, but for somebody who are basic learners, still new to the whole thing, this just makes them confused. So what I will do when I teach our students is I'll tell them, when you type and you type wrongly, press backspace. If you're looking for something to edit away and it's a wrong letter, you use delete, because you hear the wrong letter and you press delete. There are some people who just can't swallow using two kinds of deletion keys. So the alternative to teaching these kind of people is you navigate to the letter you know is wrong, then you press right arrow one more time, then backspace. That seems to work for them. Otherwise, they sort of get very worried when you press delete and then you hear something else different from what you are trying to delete. Okay, so another teaching tip.
Undo. Bullet backspace or delete colon deletes one character to the left or right of the cursor.
Yeah.
Bullet control plus backspace or
And so of course you can have control. So higher level or delete or backspace, right? One word instead of one letter.
bullet control plus B colon bold.
So these are basic formatting options. No mystery as to why it's Control B for bold.
Bullet control plus U colon underline.
underline.
Bullet control plus I colon
italics. So two ways to use them. One is you press the command, then you type the thing you want to have the formatting. Then when you're done, you press the command again to turn off. So for example, I can type Control B.
Bold on.
Then
H. O W.
Right, then once I'm done, I can press Control B, turn off.
Bold off. Space A R E R Y U U.
Okay. Yeah, don't have to show for the underline italics, right? But the other more common way of doing it is we highlight.
R selected.
Highlight already, then you apply the command.
Bold on.
So underline.
Underline on. Italic on.
Right. So
blank. Level 0. Heading level 3 folder and file navigation.
Okay, that's nice. This is the other thing I was thinking of doing.
Level 1. Bullet F2.
So your cut copy paste, maybe just a brief mention. You all know the difference between cut and copy, right? So cut, you will remove the text from the original location. Copy, the original text is still there, you just duplicate and put elsewhere. If you cut, however, okay, so after whether it's cut or copy, you still have to use the paste command. So the paste command is a follow-up command for both the cut and copy. But I noticed that although you cut the text, if you paste one place and you go to somewhere else and you paste again, you will continue to paste a copy of that original cut text. So it's an interesting thing. Once again, I don't recommend sharing this with your students. They'll probably get confused. But yeah, if you're really higher level enough, you will find that that could be a handy trick to know. Yeah, so you can do all these editing things in anything where you need typing and supports formatting. So your Word, you can do it. Your Excel, you can do it. PowerPoint, you can do it. Outlook, you can do it. There are some other email clients, you can also do it there. Yeah. Okay, so folders. So this is you can treat this part now is as the next part 2 of general computer navigation.
Level 0. Head level 1. Bullet F2 : rename object.
Okay, so rename a file. Let's go to
Windows D.
desktop.
Folder view
So
list.
Windows D, right? I remember. Like I was telling you.
Not selected. Recycle bin 1 of 30.
Okay, so this is, yeah, probably it'll be in the text document just now, but you hear, right? Not selected, recycle bin. And if you look at the screen, it probably like has a rectangle around the word recycle bin, right? But it's not highlighted. So if you want to highlight this, okay, basically the most basic way is you just move somewhere else.
FS Reader 3.0, 2 of 30. Location : FS Reader left.
The moment you move somewhere else, the highlight appears and then highlights that thing that you have moved to. Then you can go back.
Recycle bin 1 of 30 contains the files and folders that you have deleted.
This is like simpler than memorizing another keyboard command. But occasionally when you enter a folder, there's only one item in that folder. So then you can't just move to somewhere else and move back. So what happens is there's a keyboard command, so control space.
Control space not selected.
So now you see, originally it was highlighted, but control space will unhighlight it. So this has the effect of, although the cursor is there, but the computer will understand it as if you are basically interacting with the background. So now if let's go back now. So now if this is unhighlighted, I want to select unhighlighted. So if I want to select it, I can press space.
Space selected.
Or control space, but it's like the idea is control space doesn't really matter when you are selecting an unselected item. So if I were to press the application key, right? So I'm telling you how that is a location specific command. So if I press now,
Applications context menu.
Remember application key or Shift F10. Then
empty recycle bin. Pin to start. Create shortcut.
And you see all these shortcut options which are specific to recycle bin.
Rename M.
Or some more general one. So rename. Okay. So since we're talking about F2. Okay, hopefully this doesn't confuse you because like a bit random, right?
Rename M.
So rename. Just now I was talking about F2, right? That first command is F2. So
enter, leaving menus, edit, recycle bin, type in text.
If you do application key or shortcut menu and you choose rename, right? You get to rename this file. Right? So if I don't
escape, folder view, list view, recycle bin 1 of 30. To move the items, use the arrow keys to edit the selected.
So notice in this case, it doesn't say not selected or unselected because it's selected. So now if I press F2,
F2, edit, recycle bin, type in text.
Okay, so 2 ways to rename an icon on the desktop. So rename icon, either F2 or the shortcut menu. So
escape, fold.
People who can't remember too many keyboard commands, you can use the shortcut menu as a shortcut to many functions. It's a bit longer, but at least they'll be able to perform the functions they want. So if you if amazingly, right, because those commands are so common, if amazingly somebody cannot do cut, copy, paste, I remember commands for cut, copy, paste, you can do the application key and then find the option cut, copy, paste there. Okay, once in a while, there actually is a need to do that. For some reason, sometimes, I think long time ago, the Control V command doesn't work, for example. Then you can consider using the shortcut menu to do paste. So yeah, so rename. Okay, so back to what I was saying. Control space.
Control space not selected.
Yeah, so not selected. So now that although I'm still in some sense on the recycle bin, if I now press the application key,
applications context menu to navigate, press up or down arrow V.
You will now see a list of very different options of what was originally the case when you did the application key on the recycle bin.
Sort by sub menu, refresh, paste on, paste, manage one, send with.
Okay, so this is the menu you will get if you took a mouse and right click on the empty space in the desktop. Okay, so this is
News.
this is the main important application of not selecting anything in a space, and so that you can then use the application key to invoke a shortcut menu for options to edit the background. Right, things like how to arrange your files. You can also use this method. Right?
Escape. Leaving menus. Folder view. List view. Not selected. Recycle bin. 1 of 30. To move to item.
I think the other thing I haven't really mentioned, which don't know whether any of you discovered. So there are all these icons on this desktop. Right? This is not just for desktop. It's the case for a lot of other places. So if I want to go to something that starts with M, I can actually just type M here.
M. Microsoft Edge. 6 of 30.
So this is advantages for people using screen readers, because you don't need to know where the icon you want is. Right? So moving around with arrow keys is usually not very productive for a screen reader user. Of course, the limitation with this method is you must know what is already on a desktop. So anyway, so if Microsoft Edge is not the one I want, I can press M again.
M. Microsoft Teams. 24 of 30.
And it will jump to another thing that starts with M.
M. Microsoft Edge. 6 of.
So if I press again and there's nothing else that starts with M, it just goes back to the first item that starts with M. So similarly, if I press R.
R. Recycle bin. R.
Right? So if
R.
I press R and there's only recycle bin, then it keeps quiet the rest of the time. It means there's only one thing that starts with R. If I type K,
K. Quick bin zoom dot docs. K.
okay, so only one thing that starts with K.
Ivan zoom dot docs. IWCD zoom dot docs. Internet Explorer 5 of Ivan zoom dot.
Okay, so in this case, there are three things that start with I. So not just for desktop. If you're in your documents folder, if you're in any folder, thumb drive, if you are actually in some of those drop-down menus, you can also use this first letter thing. Start menu, I think also to some extent is a first letter thing. So if you're scrolling through a list of programs, for example, you can try pressing the first letter of the name of the program you want, and you will jump there. So yeah.
Windows D, page 2, general keyboard, bullet F5 colon refreshes, bullet F2 colon,
Okay, F5, refresh. Refresh, you can refresh in File Explorer, right? Your documents folder, your whatever folder. You can F5 to refresh in a web browser. If I'm not wrong, F5 probably still works. Okay, this one was during the days of Internet Explorer. Then I think F5 still works for Google Chrome and Microsoft Edge and Firefox.
Page 3, bullet control plus Z colon undo the last
Right, so same thing. If you went and did something like delete something from your desktop, you can also use Ctrl Z to bring it back. Or you accidentally rename an icon and forgot what's the original one and you want to get it back. You can also use Ctrl Z to get back.
bullet control plus A colon select all the items.
So highlighting all, you can also highlight all the icons in your desktop or your File Explorer.
Bullet shift plus delete colon delete selection.
I like to teach this. Okay, oh sorry, I should amend that. I don't always teach this, but it is handy to know. So if you go to desktop, you find an icon you don't want, you press delete, then ask you, are you sure? Then you press enter, or even double confirm, you tap to the yes and press enter. Right, just send it to the recycle bin. This is good if you accidentally delete something. But if you really don't want it anymore, it can build lots of things can build up in your recycle bin. So shift delete means you permanently delete the file without sending it to the recycle bin. So I'm a bit hesitant to teach this to a beginner, because sometimes some beginners are a little too sure of themselves when they have no reason to be. But otherwise, it helps to like prevent things from building up in your recycle bin.
Bullet alt plus enter colon open the properties. Bullet backspace or alt plus up arrow colon switch to the parent. Bullet
Okay,
control plus space bar colon selector on.
I already did the control space bar already.
Bullet alt plus enter colon bullet shift plus delete colon delete selection immediately without moving the item to the recycle bin. Windows D folder.
Okay, once again, so recycle bin.
R recycle bin.
there is a point to note. I think by default, I don't know whether I've forgotten whether they changed it nowadays. There was a period of time when the default setting is if you press delete on an icon, they straight away send it to the recycle bin without checking with you whether you want to delete it. So if that happens to be the case for the computer you're working on, I usually recommend putting this warning notice back so that the student doesn't like unknowingly and accidentally delete just about everything on his or her desktop. So to do this, right, you go to recycle bin, right click, right? Okay, so I guess as a matter of keeping yourself on your toes and remembering all the commands, you can use the keyboard command to do it lah. But you know, maybe if you all decided I cannot take it, you can use all the keyboard commands. You just right click on your okay, this is good for using that thing that just came up. So you have two methods. Okay, right click or application key,
Applications,
and then
context,
find
properties are.
properties. Right, using keyboard command is just arrow up or down to the properties and press enter. Yeah, you notice there's R, right? So you can also press R for properties. Right,
Enter, leaving menus, recycle bin properties dialog, general page.
and at the bottom there,
Cancel, OK, but display delete confirmation dialog checkbox checked. To clear checkmark, press spacebar, Alt plus D.
okay, display confirmation, and you hear that say Alt plus D. So really, someone who does this all the time and remembers all the keyboard command. Yeah, you once this thing comes out, you do alternate D to check the checkbox. Then you can press enter. So
Escape menu. Escape.
mm,
Open participants panel 15
Oops.
participant Windows D leaving menus folder view list view recycle bin 1 of 30.
Okay, so there's the other command in the file just now. So alternate enter is the same as right clicking on the icon and then choosing property. So alternate
Alt
enter.
enter recycle bin properties dialog general
then you can do
page
alternate
list
D.
Alt D display delete confirmation dialog checkbox not checked to check.
Of course, in this case, you know, like I was saying, like alternate plus underline letter move to the item and selects it. So which I just did. So I put it back. I can use spacebar to check
Space
it back,
checked.
or I could have done alternate D again and
Enter
enter.
menu open participant.
So this is how it can be potentially quite fast if you're using keyboard commands. But yeah, well, of course, you guys still have the luxury of using mouse to do all the setting now. Let me see. Okay, so
Leaving menus general keyboard show blank bullet shift plus delete colon deletes bullet alt plus enter colon open.
so notice shift delete. Property style is optional as well.
Bullet control plus A colon select all page 2 bullet F5 colon ref.
F5 is probably more useful for web browser. F2
Bullet
is really useful, recommend teaching, but if they can't remember, you can teach them the shortcut menu method.
Level 0 head left bullet alt plus enter colon open bullet backspace.
Alt plus enter. My experience is a lot of people usually don't use this often enough to need to remember this, but if they have the capacity, I suggest teaching them alternate enter, or else the shortcut menu and then choose properties.
Bullet alt plus enter bullet backspace or alt plus up arrow colon switch to
Okay,
the
so
parent.
this one I need to open something else to show you.
Bullet control plus space bar colon selects or
I already show you
unselects an
control space
object.
bar. The other thing here.
Windows D folder view list view recycle bin FS reader 3.
So now I'm moving around arrow keys.
FS reader.
I can do control arrow.
Not selected downloads 3 of 30.
So you will notice what
Location,
happens is the FS reader thing is still selected, but another icon appears with a rectangle around it. So this is moving to another icon.
Not selected NVDA 4 of 30. Location
without selecting it.
underline. Not selected Internet Explorer 5 of 30. Find
So this is useful because you can do this.
space selected.
So now you have selected two icons which are not next to each other. Right, this is as opposed to the case of working with text where you must select everything that's joined together. So then you can do arrow to something else.
Not selected VLC, not selected Microsoft Teams, space selected.
Then you would have highlighted three separate icons which are totally apart. Of course, it doesn't hurt that you can still do like next to each other. Then you can do something like cut, copy, and put them somewhere else, or delete them all together. Okay. And if you sort of highlight something by accident, you can do control space.
Control space not selected.
Yeah, to unhighlight it. So yeah, control space really taught you, right? So that's the idea.
JAWS 2022, 23 of
Okay,
30.
so that thing with the backspace.
Windows E. This PC items view list box. To move to an item, press
So
the
I was saying, right, you can use the first letter of the icon you want.
D. Desktop 2 of 9. D. Documents 3 of 9.
Right? So then go in.
Enter this PC. Items view multi-select list box. Resignation letter dot PD. GovTech remote required.
Right, so
MSG
this is one of those places where you can press the first
MSG
letter.
underline F4 F2 DF2-567A Apple SAVH event name list dot A dot docs 12A auto transcript
Just
dot
keep
word
pressing
A
A.
auditions A ADC
Actually, you can do
IA
a bit more than that. You
IA
can type if you you don't have to type super fast, but it does mean that you can't pause too long. So if I know I'm looking for something called AGM, let's say.
AGM 2021.09.18 440 of 473.
Yeah. So if you know what's the icon you want, yeah, it can actually it does actually allow you to type quite a lot. But usually people don't go beyond like 2-3 letters.
Enter AGM 2020.
Okay, so yeah, backspace. So now that I've entered my documents folder, I chosen a subfolder. Then if I want to go back to the previous location, I can do backspace.
Shell folder view. Items view multi-select list box. Not selected SAVH staff handbook left parent updated 9. Flag date 2020. AGM job postings. AGM 2021.09.18 440 of
Okay,
400.
let me see.
Title is documents.
Okay, so there is this other thing you can do.
AGM.
So you can also do alternate up arrow.
Documents. Items view list box. To move to a night job post AGM.
So there's a difference between these two.
Date created tree view level 2. Documents closed 3 of downloads closed 4 of 9.
So let's say I go to
Enter.
I'm inside now I'm
Items
inside
view
downloads.
earlier this week A161B.
Okay, yeah, by the way,
61B
so in
C2.
File Explorer, if you want to jump from one location to another, you had to do like Shift tab, so which I just did just now to go to this left hand side.
Tree view level 2.
Then you
Downloads
find
videos closed.
right whatever you want.
Acer left parent C data left level 1 level 2 data left parent D
Then you must press enter on it.
enter.
Then you tap to go in.
Items view multi-select list box.
So
Not
basically I'll
selected
jump to the right hand
APB
side, which
thumb
will
left
show what's
parent.
in. Basically, we'll go to the right hand side to show what's inside the item where you press enter on. Strange you have to press enter lah, but maybe space will work, but yeah, I've always pressed enter lah. So I suggest you just press enter as well.
Audio 2 of 9.
Okay, so go in.
Enter audio.
All right, so what's the point of doing all this now? Okay, if I were to do backspace now,
Data left parent.
fine. So this case, there is no difference between backspace and alternate up arrow. Okay, now if I do backspace again.
Data left parent D : right parent. Items view list box. To move to an item, title is downloads.
Okay, so it has jumped to downloads, from data to downloads. Let me see whether this goes.
Alt right arrow. Data left parent D : right parent.
Okay,
Items.
so now by the way, besides backspace, you can also do alternate left arrow to go back to the previous location, and then alternate right arrow will go to the other location that you were at. So if you sort of imagine all your different locations that you have been jumping through, arranged on a horizontal line, right? So alternate right will jump to something that you were further along, and then alternate left jump something further behind. So I'm back at data. If I will do alternate left arrow, it will go back to the downloads. But if I do alternate up arrow at this point,
this PC unavailable. Items view multi-select list box. Folders expanded. Nuts.
You notice this doesn't go to the downloads folder. Okay, because alternate up arrow means go up to the higher level folder for this current folder. So, or the other way of terming it is go to the containing folder. So the difference between backspace or alternate left arrow and alternate up arrow is that backspace and alternate left arrow says go to previous location, but alternate up arrow goes to containing folder. So alternate up arrow will always go to the bigger folder that contains your current folder. But if you were at something totally unrelated, then alternate left and backspace will not go there. Significant is when what you are trying to do is switch between two locations which are not containing folder and subfolder relationship. Right? If you are in that kind of situation, you can do alternate left or backspace. But if what happens is you are inside a folder, but you're wondering where are you in this folder, then alternate left and backspace won't tell you where is this current folder because it just goes back to the previous location. So when you're in this situation, alternate up arrow will go to the larger containing folder, which then might give you more clues as to where were you just now. Okay, a bit, you might find this a bit technical, but this is like for people who are lost and trying to find the location of particular folders where they're trying to use. Right? So this is a very specific example. I think it might come up once in a while. So again, yeah, I saw at risk of bragging, this is a little bit like masterclass for you guys. So know that this is not supposed to be something you should be teaching your people unless you find that they are certain caliber. Okay, so
Page 3, general bullet control plus arrow key colon moves to another item
yeah,
without
so I
select
did that just
bullet
now.
backspace or alt plus up arrow colon switch to the parent folder.
Okay, that's a bit strange. So I just demonstrated that it's different. Yeah, so take things with a pinch of salt. Sometimes I need to double verify.
Bullet control plus space bar colon selects or unselects an object. Bullet control plus arrow key colon moves to another item without selecting it.
So I got
Plan.
that is
Level 0. Heading level 1 Internet Explorer.
okay.
Level 1.
Let
Bullet
me
alt
see.
plus D colon bar semicolon
Okay, let me just run quickly through
blank.
this to refresh my memory.
Blank. Bullet control plus J colon brings up bullet alt plus N colon go blank. Level 0. Blank.
Okay, so this is the end of my document. So this last bit is a little bit outdated since it really applies to Internet Explorer, which basically is dead now. But some of them are still useful.
Left bullet control bullet F5 cold bar bullet alt plus D left blank. Head
Okay,
level
Internet
1
Explorer.
bar semi
Okay, all web
bullet
browsers.
alt bar semicolon can also press control plus O or control plus L then type in the website bullet alt plus D colon.
Okay, so address bar. You guys know what is the address bar? Basically, it's that place where you click on to type your website when you know the website. So Google Chrome, Firefox, Microsoft Edge, Internet Explorer, they all have an address bar. So you can use alternate D to go there, right? So you notice alternate D. So if you recall what we were talking about earlier on, alternate plus underline letter, right? If you were to take a look at the Internet Explorer window, or at least the very old school one, the place where they have the URL on the left is have the word address and one of the D's is underlined. That's why it's alternate D. Okay, so Control O is because O for open location, and then Control L is because L for link, open link. So Control O, Control L, they basically jump out a little dialog box, or they might behave a little bit differently. Maybe Control L will jump back to that address bar thing. So then you still type your website. So really doesn't matter whether you use alternate D, Control O, or Control L. Nowadays, actually, you can also use F6, right? Because the address bar is one of those panes in the internet browser window. So you can press F6 until it announces something about websites. Then you just type the website you want and press enter.
Bar semicolon can also press control plus O or control bullet F5 colon.
So I already mentioned F5 for refresh the page. Sometimes the page doesn't load properly. You will use control F5. I think you might be able to press Control L for some browsers, but I can't remember which, and I've never done that. So yeah.
Bullet escape colon stop loading the page.
In theory, you can do that, but yeah, can't imagine how many cases you need to do that.
Bullet alt plus left arrow or backspace colon.
Okay, so this is, yeah, you have a lot of concepts which are borrowed across situations. To some extent, you can sort of, I hope you will appreciate why they are so similar. So web pages, if you have been browsing a lot of web pages, you want to go to one particular web page along this whole chronology of web pages, you can use alternate left and right to jump around to find the page you want. You know, maybe you realize that you exploring, you click so many links and then you found that one of the earlier links might be the one you want, then you can do alternate left to get there. Or maybe alternate left too fast already, then you need the alternate right to go back. Right? So that's usually how I imagine, how I experience the use of alternate left and right.
Bullet alt plus right arrow colon go the next bullet control plus D colon brings up.
Okay, Control D basically is add to favorites. So Internet Explorer, they call them favorites. Google Chrome will call them bookmarks. Firefox call them bookmarks. And I think Microsoft Edge still calls them favorites. Yeah, but they're all Control D. Right, so Control D, a little box pops up. You can tap around to different sections, including the section to name the bookmark, right? And yeah, you can also like that dialog box will also have options for you to create folders in your bookmark, so you can arrange things properly, or you can shift them around to particular folders which already exist. Yeah, you guys tell me if you really want me to show you this, but yeah.
Alt plus N : goes to the notification.
This one probably doesn't matter anymore because that's only specific to Internet Explorer. They had this notification or information bar which shows you when there's a file you need to save or how far it's downloading. So alternate N will jump there, but yeah, now no more.
Control plus J : brings up the downloads dialog.
Okay, this one is still relevant. So your Google Chrome, your Microsoft Edge, your Firefox, they do have something like a download manager, a dialog box which shows you your past or current downloads. So Control J if you want to view the file that's downloading, and you can use arrow up and down to go through the list. I think it's left and right. If not, you use tab to jump to the option for open the file or open the containing folder. So open containing folder means open the folder which holds that file that you just downloaded. Useful if you don't know where is the downloads folder. Having said that, you can also use F6, at least in Google Chrome. There's a little section, right? If you recently downloaded a file, you press F6 a few times, you'll jump to that section which shows you your downloaded files or downloading files. You can arrow left and right and then press enter and so on to open the file. Or you can find something like more options. Right, so I guess I sort of forgot to emphasize it all. So this is obviously me talking from a user point of view. So when I press all these keyboard commands, the software keep on telling me what's happening. That's how I know what to do. So you guys also need to pay attention to what the software is saying, and you also need to highlight to your student to pay attention to what the software is saying, because I experienced quite a lot of students who just keep pressing commands without listening to the computer. They have too much faith that the commands they press is correct, which is usually not founded. Yeah, so
Blank.
let me check the time.
10:58 a.m.
Wow, another hour has gone. Okay, let's have another 5-minute break, and once you come back, I'll do a little bit of browsing web page, and then you all can try hands-on and ask questions again. Okay.
Menu. Open participants panel.
Sounds
15
good.
participants.
Alright.
Alt plus U button to move through items. Press up or
See
down
you
arrow.
in around 11:05 then.
Alt. Security but open part more up start audio setting unmute currently muted alt 11:06 a.m. Audio settings button. Unmute. Curse space.
All right, we're all back.
Audio mute. Currently unmuted. Ops. Video settings. Security. Open participants panel. 15 participants. Alt plus U button.
Hello, everyone. Anybody still there?
Hello?
Hello, yes.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, we're waiting for everyone to be back.
Okay, so not yet everyone back, huh?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay. Anybody here wants to ask anything? How about yourself? Can you follow?
I'm really not used to setting stuff with keyboard shortcuts. Actually,
Yeah.
I guess a
Yeah.
extension question would that be like how do you best think we should familiarize ourselves?
Mm,
This
okay, so what happens is when you're typing your homework, when you're typing your assignments, when you're typing emails, all those things with the keyboard navigation, the highlighting, the copy paste, should be something you definitely can use. Maybe you might still find using the mouse faster, but yeah, you could use that as practice. So when you're not like in a hurry for time, try using that, because that's exactly the point. These are all supposed to be everyday keyboard commands that our visually impaired people use. So things like going to a desktop. So instead of clicking that show desktop thing, you just do Windows D. You find you want to look for documents, you can do Windows E. When your Windows E comes up, you can press D to jump documents and press enter to go in. So not exactly very slow, I think. Yeah, so there are these cases which I feel they both basically won't slow you down, except for the fact that you have to spend time remembering the commands. But yeah, they shouldn't like hamper you too much in your daily lives when you get to use them. So how you will help somebody is when you're using them yourself and you know what works, what doesn't, why. If you realize you're always making mistakes, okay, that could then hamper your speed. But then you sort of learn from why you're making those mistakes. So then you'll be basically sharing from a user's perspective. Really, you know why you're making the mistakes, then you can help others not to make the same mistakes.
I see.
Or you find, oh, why is it pressing this command is such a hassle, so challenging? Then you can think about, oh, there are other ways of doing it.
Like the desktop thing, right? Like when our students, like if they're using their personal laptops, one thing we can do for them is also like to organize it like alphabetically, right? Because I realized that if you press G, it goes to G, but then to the right, you can like keyboard shortcut to the right or something. Then you select all the G application.
If you keep pressing G repeatedly, they just jump in turn to everything that starts with G. So the advantage is then you don't need to know where are the icons, because you just need to know that you're sitting on something that starts with G. Arranging them in a particular order, you could do that. I personally don't see it as necessarily helping with the productivity. After all, your desktop isn't supposed to contain a lot of items, so may not be very necessary. It might be more okay if you're working with files in the documents folder. So again, your new students are unlikely to be like me, have 400 over items in your documents folder. But the documents folder is already arranged alphabetically, or at least most of the time. So okay, that's something lah. That's also something lah. You could, you can change the view to show according to date last modified or according to file name. So there are definitely advantages to that. So if there are students who might benefit from knowing some trick like that, you can teach them that. I suppose that is an interesting test question to pop all of you. That hands-on, how do you change the display in documents folder to show according to dates or name? We can do that later after I've done with the internet. Then I'll throw the question to you all to come out and answer. Then I'll tell you this. There's at least 2 ways of doing it.
We can try.
Nothing like cracking your head over a real problem. Right?
I think MS should be here lah. Like
Okay.
whether on
Okay.
that on.
Okay, this next part here is won't be referring to this general keyboard commands document really.
Title is Meeting Controls. Leaving menus, general keyboard shortcuts for
Close
Windows.
this, so alternate F4 to
Alt
close.
F4, Microsoft Word, save button to activate, press spacebar, Alt plus S.
Okay, so because I've been tampering with the document, so when I try to close, it asks me, do I want to save the changes? So once again, to give you all like repeat how the basic stuff are constantly in use, you can try to tab.
Don't save button to act.
So when the dialog box comes up, they announce something, but unfortunately not the whole message. So you can tap to the options you want.
Don't save button to activate, press spacebar, Alt plus N.
Don't save. You notice it says Alt plus N. So actually the other way I can do it is just press Alt N. So I've done the somewhat longer cut, which is also a bit more comfortable for many people that I work with. So you tap until it says don't save, and you either press enter or spacebar, because in this case both are the same thing.
Enter.
Okay, so
title is this PC items view
okay, I don't need
devices
this
and drives left
now.
parent to right parent row header expanded. Alt F4 menu open participants panel,
and it tells me open participants panel, so that's how I know I'm back in the Zoom window. If it doesn't announce, then there's something I'll press to tell me what's the title of the window. So maybe I still need to do a bit more than just web browsing. Okay, I'll do this all together because it's about the same concept. So browsing the web page, besides what I covered just now about the Alt D, Control L, Control J, F5, right? There are some commands which you need to learn, which are, as I was saying at the very beginning, right? Screen reader specific. So this section now is really a bit more about screen reader specific commands. Okay, so basically everything before now are system-wide commands. Right, I was telling you how about you can use in File Explorer, you can use in Word, you can use PowerPoint, you can use everywhere, right? Or at least they are specific to those applications, and it doesn't matter which screen reader or even no screen reader, you can also use them. Now these things are screen reader specific. So first of all, okay, so I will focus on 2 things, NVDA and JAWS. So like I was telling Brian, the thing about NVDA is NVDA was created as a protest or response to JAWS because JAWS caused a bomb. So NVDA costs nothing. The people who created NVDA, I think what I was led to believe is they actually came out from JAWS, the company that produced JAWS. So what happens is they went and actually copied a lot of commands from JAWS. So although I say they are screen reader specific, but because the 2 screen readers share a lot of common keyword commands, so a lot of them are the same in the end. So anyway, the first thing I've been using all the while, all the time just now, okay, maybe not all the time, quite a lot just now, is to read the title of the window. So if I don't know where I am, it doesn't tell me when I've jumped there or I missed it, I can press the command insert T.
Title is desktop 1.
Okay, so it tells me desktop. Just now when I was in Microsoft Word, if I press insert T, they tell me general keyboard commands for Windows 10, dots, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so yeah, so insert T. This is common to both NVDA and JAWS. The other thing is
11:15 a.m.
Okay, insert F12 for report the time. Again, common to both NVDA and JAWS. There is another command which would be useful for laptops. Okay, so
AC connected, battery level :I, battery 100%, CKBTLP _ 5G, internet access.
Okay, so insert Shift B. Let me double confirm that.
AC connected.
Yeah. Okay, so insert Shift B is actually a bit tricky to press, or may not be. It's a bit tricky because the shift and the insert are quite far apart. and your B is separate as well. So that's where, if you have been reading through the notes, right, in screen readers, there is a desktop keyboard layout and a laptop keyboard layout. So if you switch the settings to be laptop layout for keyboard, the commands will be different. Okay, which is not to say that basically is most of the time the desktop version of the keyboard commands will still work, but there are a lot of cases where there's a laptop version and a desktop version of a keyboard command. Most of the time it's just changing from insert something to caps lock something, but occasionally it will be quite different. Okay, wait, it's still not very different. So for example, like the command to report your battery is insert shift B for battery, right? So easy to remember, B for battery. So the keyboard layout changes from insert shift B to caps lock shift B. So the caps lock and the shift are next to each other on the left hand side. This is a slightly awkward because the letter B, or at least the way I teach my students, you're supposed to use your left hand to type the B, but the caps lock and shift in this case are also the left hand. So I will teach my students, if you want to do insert shift or caps lock shift B to report the battery level, you can use your left hand to type the caps lock and the shift, and your right index finger can stretch more than usual to the left, right? Because the way I teach them, I teach the right hand will type the letter N and M, but just for the case of reporting battery, they use the right hand stretch to the left of the letter N to reach B, which is not difficult. In fact, when I train them in typing, many of them make the mistake of stretching too much and typing B with the right hand. So it's not too much of a challenge. Right, so again, another teaching tip, right? So the command report battery in the laptop layout is caps lock shift B, where the odd part about this command is you will teach them to use your left hand to press the caps lock and shift, and your right hand to press the letter B. So the B is actually a deviation from official teaching, where you're actually normally supposed to use your left hand to type B, right? But because it's easier, in my opinion, to press this than the insert shift B. Okay. Right. So up to this point, I've only used insert T, insert F12. Okay, there's another one. Okay, let's go back to Word again. So how to open Word?
Search box edit.
Tab menu, type W.
W, Word, app.
As you type W, they'll suggest apps to you already. So usually the first thing that comes up when you type W is Word. So press enter.
Opening dash, list box Word, new list box, blank document, 1 of 9.
You know how when you open Word nowadays, they always prompt this thing, what kind of formatting do you want? Nice, a blank document. You can either press enter or you can press escape. They have the same effect of leading you to a new blank document.
Enter. Document 1.
So now okay, so alternate F4 to close this.
Alt F4. Save your changes to this file. File name edit. Fats. Type and text.
Okay, so this is so I can demonstrate to you the next keyboard command, which I find quite useful. Insert B, right? B for boy. I think you're supposed to try and teach them to remember B for box, because essentially I will describe this as the command for reading a dialog box. As for why it's not insert B, no idea, but that's how I try and make it make sense when trying to remember. So let's see, insert B.
Dialog, edit, fats.
Hey, that's not good. Okay, so sometimes they don't behave as expected. Let me see what else.
Escape, edit. Control Shift F, font.
All right, so let's try insert B here with the font dialog box. That is, oh wait. Okay, computer is not working with me
Search
again.
box. Document 1 dash Word, font, Asian text font, colon.
Right, let's try again. Okay.
Quick settings dashboard dialog. Search box edit. Type in text. Escape. Font edit. Plus body Asian. To set the value, use the arrow keys or type plus body Asian.
Okay, so I guess it's changed since the last time I read it. So I guess we'll have to live with that. So
Escape. Edit. Alt F4. Save. Save as type combo box. Choose a locate more option dialog.
Yeah, so I think they probably has some bug nowadays. Anyway, so I'll do alternate end to
Alt
don't
N.
save.
Menu. Open participants panel. 14 participants.
And yeah, so I'm out of it. Okay, so I think I won't try and spend time trying to make you read, demonstrate to you that thing. So insert B or caps lock B for box will read a dialog box. So if there's a message in that window which is not automatically reading, you can try and do insert B or caps lock B to make it read the box. If not, then yeah, we're in a bit of a trouble. It's not impossible, but there's like more advanced stuff which I normally don't get around to teaching my students on what to do with screen readers. I might say that for maybe next week when we go into more difficult stuff. Okay, so I will go back to just internet browsing with screen reader specific keyboard commands.
Title is meeting controls.
Right, so
Windows D, leaving
I'll
menu
use
G, Google Chrome, 12 of.
So Windows D, go to desktop, press G to jump to things that start with G. Then Google Chrome
G
is the only G on this desktop.
Enter.
Or I can do like
Google
start menu
Chrome,
and type G, and probably Google Chrome will come out. If it doesn't, you can either arrow up or down through the list of suggestions. It should be among the suggestions, or you can keep typing until they announce Google Chrome and press enter. So
title is Google Chrome.
Okay, so Google Chrome is one of those cases where the alternative doesn't exactly work as well.
Alt D.
Right, so you have to. So for Google Chrome is more F6.
F6.
Oh no. Okay.
Google Chrome. Google. F6. F6. Control O. Escape. Control L. Escape.
Wonder is because my computer is about to act, is acting up.
Title is Google.
Yeah, my thing is definitely acting up.
Google Chrome. Google. Alt F4. Menu. Open participants panel. 14 participants.
Let me see if it's because I got too many windows open. Windows tab.
Leaving menus. Meeting controls to move to an menu. Open participants panel. 14 participants. Alt plus U button to move through a Windows D. Leaving menus.
Then.
Start button. Type here to search. Talk to Cortana. Task view button to activate.
Like I'm having trouble getting to my taskbar, so I'll go back to basics. If you do Windows D, you go to desktop. If you tap around, you tap to the different parts of the desktop.
Taskbar Microsoft Edge button to activate. Press space. 30 degrees C light rain button to notification chevron button. Taskbar Microsoft Store button.
So now I'm at the pin icons next to the Windows key.
Mail button.
I can arrow
Mozilla
right.
Firefox, Amazon, JAWS 2020. Taskbar Zoom -2 running Windows button menu.
And I managed to
F1
get into the list of applications.
Taskbar Outlook -13 running Windows button.
Right, so I want to close this. Anybody want to try and guess what I can do to close this? You know where I am right now, right? In the taskbar, I'm sitting on the list of 13 Microsoft Outlook application windows. So what can I do to close this? How would you all normally close something like that? Anybody want to guess?
You right click.
Okay, right.
Then,
so that's your answer. So
So need
translation.
to shift it. Shift F10.
Yes. Yeah.
Then
Or the
you
application
navigate
key.
the thing.
Yeah.
Applications, items list box, recent unavailable, Renav monthly report -employment and touch.
Right, so I can arrow up because I think if I'm not wrong, close is at the bottom. So I arrow up and it will go to the bottom of this
list box. Close all windows. 3 of 3. To move to an item, press enter. Taskbar look -13 running Windows button menu. Insert F1 help to activate. Press space bar.
Okay, so I get some sound effects. I get JAWS a bit long-winded, still reading something which is not relevant anymore. So I need to check where I am again. So insert T.
Title is taskbar.
So I'm still at taskbar. Okay. And it's not reacting. So
Microsoft Edge button.
all right. So tap one time and it announces Microsoft Edge, which tells me where I am now.
Taskbar Outlook -4 running Windows button menu.
Hey,
Insert
didn't
F1
close everything.
taskbar Zoom -2 run taskbar Microsoft Edge button.
But anyway, Microsoft Edge. Let's try opening Microsoft Edge.
Space running applications taskbar opening new window selected about :blank app bar toolbar address and search bar edit.
Okay, so the behavior of Microsoft Edge is once you open Microsoft Edge, it straight away places you in the address bar. So fine, we'll type.
Selected Google Google search from history. Press tab then enter to remove suggestion 1 of 6.
Okay, so as you type again, they read the suggestion to you. So if you have students who are mentally agile enough and you want to teach them to get more out of the productivity and efficiency, you want to highlight to them that as they type, there's a suggestion which will be read out to them. Once again, I share with you my experience. The people I teach, they usually don't listen to me. They just get busy starting to type the whole website. So yeah, so you play by ear. So if your student is the alert kind and attentive kind, unfortunately, usually not. You can highlight to them the fact that as they are typing, the whole suggestion is being read out to them. So even with that case where you use the start menu and type the name of application, the suggestion basically is a suggestion that's being announced. But again, the people I teach, they usually don't pay attention to that. They're just busy following they think the instruction to just type the full name of the application. So anyway, so as you type, they give you a suggestion. If you get what you want, you can press enter in, or if you're like most of my students, they just type the full thing and then press
enter. Loading page. Google search Microsoft Edge. Google search. Loading complete. Page has 5 regions, 35 headings and 90 links. Google search. Heading level 1 accessibility links. List skip.
Okay, so normally when you're in a web page, ideally the scenario that should be occurring is the screen reader will actually put you straight in that search field. But often it doesn't, like in this case. So you will have to navigate to that search field. Normally for web pages and basic learners, all they will do is do up and down arrows, which will like take forever. Maybe not forever because this is like so few things on the page. But if you have a lot of things, then that is going to be quite close to forever. So same thing. Remember again my command Control Home.
Google search.
To go to the top of the page. So Google Home, Control Home is not just for Word.
Sorry,
yes.
Can I just ask, your screen is showing like a gray blank page.
Oh, that's not good.
Title is Google search Microsoft
Nothing at all.
Edge.
Just one whole blank gray.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see.
Menu open participants panel 14 participants Alt plus U Alt.
I stop sharing already, right?
Yep.
Open participants panel 14 participants.
Okay, anything come up now?
It's still the same.
So when I stop share, it does go black now.
When you stop share, then we can't see your screen anymore.
Okay. Do you hear some sound though?
Search box edit,
Yeah,
type
we still
open
hear it.
participants.
I think after you type the Google and then press enter, then it stopped. Like
Okay.
when,
Okay. It definitely sounds like my computer is starting to act up. So you are now going to be thrown in the hardcore experience. Huh? You will also have to just depend on what the computer is telling you instead of looking at the screen. So,
open participants panel 14 participants Alt plus U button.
so what do you think is happening now? Where are we?
Zoom.
Okay, so how do you want to get back to that Google thing?
Try to navigate through the different windows.
No.
No.
Faster. Remember the thing, one of those things I tell you, even the partially sighted, I'll try and teach them that command. Yeah, anybody else feel free to jump in with suggestions? Huh? No? Okay, I'll tell you, alternate tab, right? So alternate tab will jump between open windows. So alternate, hold down and press tab.
Google search personal Microsoft
Okay, because I'm not
Edge.
because I'm not sure whether alternate tab will really go back to Google Chrome. So I'm holding down my alternate as I press tab. So just nice, it does say Google Chrome. So now then I let go of my alternate.
Google search.
Right, so you remember I was saying, if you hold down alternate while pressing tab, you will jump between all your open windows. If you don't hold down alternate, you'll jump only between the last two windows.
Also,
Now we're in Google Chrome.
your page, yeah, can be seen already.
Okay, so much for hardcore. All right,
Title
so
is Google search Microsoft Edge.
right.
Heading
So
level 1.
So what happens is when you're in the middle of a web page, sometimes the screen reader will jump all the way to the middle of nowhere on the web page, which is why, as a general rule, so that we have a higher level of predictability as well as location on the page, if they don't automatically go into the part where they're supposed to be, I will usually start by doing Control Home, because this will place me at the top of the page. Okay, so as I was saying, Control Home is, I was talking about Word when I first mentioned it, but it also works and is quite important for web pages and navigation. Okay, so for any web page in general, in principle, or at least my recommended principle is, if you're not familiar with the page, you should start from the top and read everything all the way to the end. But having said that, if there's a lot of content there, even I will get tired of trying to practice the principle. But anyway, so just quickly do a principle here. So arrow down, again, is the most basic command for navigation.
Link skip to main content. Link accessibility help. Link accessibility.
Arrow.
Google Apps, but Google account references. Link graph search. Google clear button. Clear button. Google edit combo. Search.
Okay,
Google edit combo.
so we found this is where we actually want to be. Okay, so like I was saying, luckily this page doesn't have a lot of stuff. Okay, so that's for most basic, right? Most the users, they may not be able to handle more than just do the simple stuff. Yeah? So just arrow down through everything and they eventually get to where they want. As long as their productivity is not a concern, and we often just let them, because they struggle too much with all the other concepts. But if they can handle more,
Google
actually, which is very hard to let them get by with just that kind of basics. So what happens is, screen readers have designed additional commands for you to jump through the content of a web page. If you were looking through that list of NVDA and JAWS keyboard commands, you already have gotten this concept. So what happens is, in a web page, when you're not in the space for typing, okay, so first of all, there are two modes for navigating web pages. One is called the forms mode, and the other is called the browse mode. Sometimes I think called the focus mode. Yeah, but anyway, I will use forms mode and browse mode. So forms mode is for filling in forms, right? So basically that's the mode where if you type something, the thing will get typed up. But in browse mode, the main point is to navigate through the content and read the content. So since you don't need to do typing when in browse mode, they assign single letters to do various things. So for example, there's H, right? If you press H, right? So you know that web pages are formatted so that they're headings, usually. So if you press H with a screen reader running in a web page, it will jump to the next heading. In this case, we're not going to need that right now, right? So there's another command, E. E will jump to edit field, right? So edit field, okay. Then there's also F for form field. Nowadays, edit field, form field don't have very much difference. I think sometimes it's a bit of like inconsistency how the web developers label these items. But anyway, the main point is edit field, form field, but just about the same thing. So in a Google search page, we want to go to the edit field, right? So nowadays, I find that it's more common, more efficient to use E than F. So I will use E now. So I press E.
search edit combo Google.
So it will jump to the next edit field, right? So you call it edit field because it's a field, F-I-E-L-D, that you want to edit, right? Change. So in the sense of typing something inside here. So when you get to the edit field, you press enter.
Enter. Search region. Search edit combo Google.
Then it will go into forms mode so that you can then type. Right. So what can we type here?
K-E-Y-B-O-A-R-C.
Oops. So type wrongly. You can still use backspace.
C.
Right, and then tell you what you're typing.
D. Keyboard. A-O-R-T-C-U-T-S. Shortcuts.
I'm
L4.
not seeing you type.
Nothing is coming out.
Keyboard
Okay, I think
shortcuts for Google.
the Zoom sharing is lagging a bit. Because by right, you
Keyboard
should be typing,
shortcuts for
right?
Google. End.
Let me see. So, okay, so
Mm.
I stress test your switch between hardcore and traditional.
Space L G O O G.
Can you tell what's happening? So basically, I'm typing. For some strange reason, I was trying to type keyboard shortcuts for Zoom, but when I read back the current line, so this is just nice to introduce you another keyboard command. So anyway, so I was trying to type keyboard shortcuts for Zoom, but then they gave me keyboard shortcuts for Google instead. So I was deleting away the Google. But quite annoyingly, some places, the screen reader doesn't behave properly. So as I try to delete things, they don't tell me what I'm deleting, or I try to read back stuff, they don't read. So it is sometimes can be quite annoying to type things in web pages. So then you need to once again start trying to pull in every trick you know to use. Okay, can somebody mute himself? Yeah. Okay, so so now I mentioned another keyboard command, which is basically screen reader specific. So if you all remember, just now at navigating the Word document there, I was telling you the most basic user, they will only know how to use up and down arrow to read line by line. So if you need to repeat a line, the most basic way and trick to do it is to arrow down, then arrow up again, or arrow up, then arrow down again. Okay, so but if you don't want to do that, and sometimes it's not ideal to do that, there are screen reader specific commands. So basically for JAWS is insert up arrow. Right, so I'm going to press insert up arrow now.
Keyboard shortcuts for.
Okay, then it reads what's on the current line. Right, so this is how I verify that what I have typed out here. It doesn't tell me which part of this line my cursor is though. So, but at least it tells me the line. For NVDA, there's a significant difference. So like I was saying just now, NVDA also has a desktop layout and a laptop layout. For the desktop layout, it is also insert up arrow. But for the laptop layout, it is actually caps lock L. Right? You can remember L for read current line. So caps lock L. Right? So NVDA. I'm not sure whether I updated that in that file I sent you all. So you take note and compare. Okay, so read the current line. Yeah, I'm now using left and right arrow and it's not reading anything to me. Okay, so this is like what I'm telling you now. Annoying behavior of screen readers in web pages. So anyway, so Zoom.
ZOOM.
Now I can read current line again.
Keyboard shortcuts for Zoom.
Okay, so that proves that I did not type in the wrong place, because for all I know, because it doesn't tell me where I am, my cursor could have been in the middle of the line. So what I did just now was to try and make it as likely as possible that my cursor was at the end of the line. I pressed the N key. So remember home and end, right? So if you just press by itself, it's beginning and end of the line. So I press end before I continue typing, right? Because I only stop at keyboard shortcuts 4, right? So I press end and I type Zoom. Then I use the read line command to make sure that it says keyboard shortcut for Zoom. Okay, so it says that.
Enter. Loading page. Keyboard shortcuts for Zoom - Google search. Keyboard shortcuts for Zoom - Google keyboard.
Yeah. Another thing I haven't mentioned is when it keeps on talking and you don't want it to talk anymore, you can press the control key. Sometimes it's laggy, you have to press control many times before you shut up. But yeah, so normally press once will stop the JAWS or NVDA or even narrator. Right, so narrator is a built-in thing which I'm not covering, at least not today. Yeah, so control will silence the thing. And another thing I'll point out is they have worked sound effects into the screen readers. JAWS is a little bit more subtle. There's a book and book sound effect when you enter forms mode and get out of forms mode. So there was that sound effect just now. So once you type finish, you press enter, they show you the search results. Ideally, it should automatically get out of forms mode and go into browse mode. and it did do that just now. Well, at least I think so. So if I use arrow up and down.
Heading level 1 accessibility link skip to link access.
Okay, so the fact that it can read the web content like this means that it is in browse mode, because if it's in forms mode, it will only read what's in the edit box. And actually, visually, if it is in forms mode, but it's not in the edit box, you will see the page move up and down without the jaw stocking. So that's another hint to you to spot whether the screen reader is not in the correct mode. For NVDA, the sound effects are very obvious. If you are switching into forms mode, there's a very sharp click or mechanical kind of sound. And once you exit the forms mode into browse mode, you hear a tone kind of thing, right? So it makes it very obvious whether you're switching between forms and browse mode. Same for JAWS and NVDA. You can basically switch to forms mode by pressing enter on the edit box. And if you press escape, you will exit out of the forms mode if you need to. They do have separate keyboard commands for directly switching between the two modes. So that's different, right? So for JAWS is insert Z, and for NVDA is insert space. So these are what we call toggle switch. So the same command will switch between forms mode and browse mode or vice versa. Okay, so now
link accessibility feedback.
So I did a search. So this is where the next thing about using web page with screen reader comes in. So like I already introduced to you, the top most commonly used single letter navigation keyboard command is H for heading. This is definitely useful when browsing your Google search results. So you just need to keep pressing H.
Search modes heading level 1.
Right. So if it jumps to a heading and you know that heading is nothing to do with what you want, you just press H again.
Search results heading level 1.
Right. It just keeps jumping to the next heading. So of course, yeah, the uncertainty when you're with, especially with unfamiliar web page, is whether that heading is really what you want.
Featured snippet from the web heading level 2.
Still not quite.
Common shortcut keys heading level 3. Zoom shortcuts vertical bar accessible technology dash university of ... heading level 3.
Sounds
link.
good and sounds not quite good. I was looking for Zoom shortcuts specifically from Zoom itself. This is a university. So H is next. So you do Shift H.
Common shortcut keys heading level 3.
Right, you'll go to the previous heading. Right, so H for next, Shift H plus for previous. So there are a lot of others in that list of keyboard shortcuts I gave you. Right, so the letter by itself is the next nearest that thing, and Shift plus that thing is the previous that thing.
Link graphic image result for heading level 3 common show list of 6 items. Bullet mute / unmute microphone. Bullet turn camera on / off. Left parent mnemonic is left quote V. Bullet toggle chat on. Bullet toggle participant.
So what I'm doing now is I'm at a heading and I'm going arrow up or down to read the content. In this case, I'm arrow down to read the content because they are basically showing me some content for that page to help me verify whether it's what I want.
Bullet toggle speaker / gallery view. Windows : Alt plus F1. ... Bullet raise / lower hand.
Okay, so based on my own knowledge of shortcuts, Zoom shortcuts, this is at least correct, even though it's not from the Zoom page. So I can then Shift H again. You'll go back to that.
Common shortcut keys heading level 3.
Okay. Oh wait. So it doesn't say link, so that's not nice. Usually I'm expecting it to say heading and link, because link is the thing you want to open by pressing enter. Okay, so I will just do H again.
Zoom shortcuts vertical bar accessible technology dash. People also ask about this result heading level 3 button menu.
Yeah, one thing I don't like about Google nowadays, last time they used to always show you at least 10 results, but nowadays they really don't. They streamline too much.
Zoom common shortcut, Zoom shortcuts.
All right, so let's say I open this one. So again, something that I didn't put in my general list of keyboard commands. Okay, you press enter on a link, it will open the web page, but it will stay within the current window. However, I like to use Shift Enter, which will actually open the link in a new window.
Shift Enter, main region, heading level 3 link, Zoom shortcuts vertical.
The advantage of this is I still have that previous page to work with if I, for example, want to try another result. And if I do like enter straight away, if I go back to the results page, one is I'll lose this page in case I find it useful to keep. And two, if I go back which is like alternate left arrow or backspace for anybody who might need to be reminded. It might put the screen reader back at the top of the page, which will like be a bit of a hassle. I need to navigate all the way back to where I was again, right? So that's why I use Shift Enter. I actually find this very useful to know and learn and use, but again, my experience has been that actually most existing users apparently don't even know about this command. So I leave it to you all to decide whether you want to teach this sort of thing to the people you're teaching now. Okay, so
Link https:// about this result button menu collapse link list end. Heading level 3 link zoom shortcuts vertical bar accessible.
Okay, so I'm still at that results page.
Meeting controls to the keyboard shortcuts 3: zoom meeting follow keyboard shortcuts for zoom.
Okay, so I guess it's not working again, or whether it's just my computer.
People also ask about zoom shortcut link https.
Okay, anyway, so now it says link. So what happens is the screen reader will tell you what we call element you're sitting on. So they say link HTTP means it's a link. So let's try Shift Enter here.
Shift Enter, opening new tab, loading page, opening new window, zoom shortcuts vertical bar accessible technology. Zoom's accessibility options are accessed via the settings available in the Zoom application window left. Zoom.
So once again, I can try using heading.
Zoom shortcuts heading level 1.
Can you like Shift tab?
Shift tab from
like Shift tab away from this tab, then go back inside. Because I think when you like when you enter into a new tab for some reason, then it goes back to blank, right? But then when you Shift tab out and Shift tab back in, it works.
For Zoom.
Now?
I can see again.
Zoom shortcuts
can see the website
accessible.
Okay, by the way, it's not Shift tab, it's Alt tab.
Oh, sorry, Alt tab.
Yeah, so remember Shift tab and tab is basically moving around within the current space. So Alt tab is switching between windows. Control tab is switching between tabs, right?
Link zoom.
So you can see now, right?
Yes.
For current information, heading level 2 accessibility settings. Zoom's accessibility options are accessed via the
Okay, there is another keyboard command you may or may not want to introduce, which is basically the read all command. So read all will basically start reading from the current point of the cursor until the end of the whole document. And JAWS, there are two options. You can do insert down arrow, which is really what I use all the time, or you can do insert A, so A for all. So that's supposed to help you remember. Anyway, insert down, so read down to the end, so easy to remember as well. I prefer insert down, so let's try.
Having this always available can make Zoom much easier to use for many people. This is toggled on /off with the Alt key left parent Windows right parent or Control plus / key combo left parent Mac OS right parent. To permanently have this displayed for all meetings, go to settings left parent.
Okay, I think this is a bit longer winded than I was looking for. I'm looking for a table or keyboard command. But anyway, so let's switch over and use insert A and C.
Addresses https://www.washington.edu/accessibility/zoom-shortcuts/.
Okay.
Checkbox in the resulting pane. Link graphics screenshot of Zoom addresses https.
Okay.
Checkbox in the resulting.
Okay. So luckily I tell you insert down arrow. It could be a keyboard layout thing. So I had to admit I personally don't use insert A. So maybe I don't realize that they have reassigned insert A or something else. NVDA desktop layout is also insert down arrow to read all. I think caps lock A is the laptop version for NVDA. Yeah, I'm not running NVDA, and I sort of don't want to risk embarrassing myself again by using a command which doesn't work and I never used before. So basically, for me myself, I don't normally do a read all unless I know there's a huge chunk of text there which I want to read nonstop. So again, I would say this might not be a very important command to teach, unless you happen to come across a user who likes to spend his or her time reading a whole long chunk of stuff. Not impossible. Yeah, anyway. And I think the other thing I should might as well highlight here is, yeah, read what you have highlighted. So let me highlight something.
Selected. All meetings, selected. Easier to use for selected. The menu at the bottom of the active Zoom.
Okay, so can you tell that it's highlighted? So, you know, switching between all the different navigation commands with shift might then leave you at a bit like blur as to how much you've actually selected. So at this point in time, you can press a command to read back all the things that you have highlighted. So for JAWS, the command is insert shift down. So my JAWS has been set to, I think, laptop layout. So it'll be caps lock shift down.
Selection is the menu at the bottom of the active Zoom meeting window contains most of the commonly used Zoom features. Having this always available can make Zoom much easier to use for many people. This is toggled on/off with the Alt key left parent Windows right parent or Control plus back. /key combo left parent Mac OS right parent. To permanently have this displayed for all meetings, go to Settings left parent here right parent link on the main Zoom application. Select the General tab in the left pane and then the left quote always show meeting controls right quote.
Okay. NVDA, quite big difference between the laptop and the desktop. So desktop command for NVDA is insert shift up arrow, right? So as compared to JAWS insert shift down arrow. For NVDA laptop is caps lock shift S, right? So S for selected text.
Default link graphics.
Okay, let me see. Do I really need to do much more? So, like what I searched for, these are keyboard shortcuts. Usually they are listed in table format. So if you press T, it should jump tables if there are any.
There are no tables on this page.
And if there are none, they'll tell you there are no tables on this page. So this definitely does not sound like it's being presented in table format. So like I was saying, right? So now that I know that this is not exactly what I want, I can close this. So once again, how to close? Alternate F4, but nowadays I like Control W more.
Closing tab. Close document window. Keyboard shortcuts for Zoom Google search. Visited link https
And you notice here, I'm back
visited
at
link http visited list end. Visited heading level 3 link Zoom shortcuts for
right the location where I selected that link and open it.
People also ask about this result at web results heading level 2.
Okay. No wonder I'm lost. Okay, so actually when you look through the Google search results, you should wait until you hear this web results thing, then continue to press H. That's where the results are.
Hotkeys and keyboard shortcuts Zoom support heading level 3 link.
Okay, so this is exactly what I want. So I won't bother shift enter anymore. Just
enter.
Just
Hotkeys and keyboard shortcuts Zoom support // support.zoom. A single right pointing
and you
angle
can do
hot.
control to stop it from talking. Doesn't look like it's loading. Do you all see blank again?
Alert, dismiss intro. Hi there. If you have any questions, we have hotkeys and keyboard shortcuts and Zoom support personal Microsoft. And navigation list of 2 items.
Okay, it's reading content to me at least.
Contacts.
Okay, so table.
There are no tables on this
Wait,
page.
there's no table here either. Okay. Heading.
Join the 83K plus other recently viewed articles heading level 3. Related articles heading level 3. Hotkeys and keyboard shortcuts heading level 1.
All right, so I press H until I hear something that sounds very relevant to what I want. Again, I will tell you my official principle is you're supposed to read from beginning to end. But yeah, even I get tired of running through the millions of links here. So I just try heading. So like I tell you, heading is the most common thing we use for navigating through web pages. So once you get to a heading that you want, you can switch to using down arrow.
There are keyboard shortcuts that allow in your Zoom link desktop client settings under keyboard heading level 2 prerequisites for hotkey list of 2 bullet Zoom desktop client.
And you don't need to wait for it to finish reading the whole line. You can just keep arrow down again without listening to the whole line, so that you can be as fast as possible. Of course, the other thing, you can make it read as fast as I was originally using.
Bullet Zoom mobile app for iList end. Heading level 4 same page link collapsed windows. You can view and edit keyboard shortcuts in your keyboard shortcut list of 3. 1. 2. Click your profile settings 3. Blank. The keyboard shortcuts will appear. List end. Heading level 3 editing shortcuts. You can sub list of 2.
Okay, so I guess this one doesn't give me the actual shortcuts. So it's telling me I can go into my Zoom account settings to find them. Right, so that's a quick demonstration of how you would use screen readers to browse a web page.
11:55 a.m.
Okay, 5 minutes left. Does anyone want to try that task which I sort of threw out before I went and did all this? how would you change your documents window to show your files in order of dates as compared to in alphabetical order of file name? Anyone who try and take on the challenge of answering that question? Okay, so this is like a wrap up with yeah, get your hands on kind of thing.
Control. Wait, no, it's not Control E.
Or basically this, you can sort of see this as a translation exercise. First, you think of how you would do it yourself with your mouse and all that. Then you sort of verbalize or at least note down what is the process. So anybody wants to tell me how would you as a sighted person first do it?
A sighted person just like
Mm-hmm.
enter into File Explorer,
Mm-hmm.
then like Control E, and like
Control
not
E.
Control E, just enter the File Explorer, then like
Uh-huh.
you go into like whatever folder you want to be in, then you like right click and then like change the organization to date.
Okay.
But
so you basically have the basic ingredients to now start translating it to a screen reader method of doing it. Right. So what's the first thing? Open your file as well, right? So
yeah,
so then
good.
first thing will be what's the command for open file explorer? Yeah, so anyway, not to wreck your heads over it, crack your heads over it, because it's all in that document there. So, now hopefully you appreciate why I spend all the time going through the document, right? Basically, it's your cheat sheet to translating all your tasks to keyboard shortcuts. Right, so Windows E will open your file explorer.
Oh, Windows E.
Yeah, so Windows E. Remember E for Explorer. Okay, so you got the E correct. Just that you thought it was Control. Actually, there's Control E also. Since you mentioned that, Control E actually jumps to the search field. So if you want to do a search for stuff, you can, yeah, and you know there's a search field somewhere there. You can try Control E, and there's a good chance you will jump to the search field. Right? So that's a side note. Yeah, maybe I should add Control E to my list of general keyboards as well. Anyway, so Windows E. So let's say now in this case you want to go to documents. So documents, right? You told you, right? So how to go to documents?
I press just downwards, like the downwards arrow key.
Can.
Then you read out stuff
yes.
that I have.
Yes. So for that's gonna take a while.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's the faster way.
D.
Shift downwards. Oh
no. No, just press D. So remember I was telling you how you can jump to things that start with a letter by pressing that first letter. So
D, desktop, 2 of 9.
So you don't get that.
D, documents, 3 of 9.
Right. So 2 keyboard commands, you get the documents. Then you press enter to go in.
Enter, documents, items view list box. To move to an item, press the arrow keys. Items view multi-select list box. Not selected SAVH staff handbook left parent updated 9 December 2021 right parent .pdf 10.
Yeah. Next step, you're saying right click on the empty space, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just basically already told you that earlier on how to do that. So it's your, I think Brian, you also remember, right?
Yeah, I think control.
That's what?
I mean, I'll control E and search documents, but then because I can type out.
We want to change it so it's arranged according to. Okay, in this case, mine is already arranged in date modified lah. So you want to switch to arrange the files according to file name. What will you do?
I'll press tab.
Tab to where?
It's like actually it's a super long method, but like because tab will just like bring me around things that I can toggle with, right?
Yeah.
So
remember what you just told me. The sighted way of doing is do what?
Right click.
Yeah. So what's
okay.
Yeah. So then what's the translation of right click?
Control F or Shift F10.
Yeah, Shift F10 or application key lah. Right?
Applications context menu to navigate.
Brian,
press
you
up or
already
down
just said,
arrow
right?
V.
Just change
Use
it
up menu V.
Change it to the view, right? So what happens is down here, I also don't remember the shortcut lah, but I was telling you each underline letter there you can choose, right? So for you guys, because you can tell which letter to press, right?
Sort by sub menu O.
So just so nice is sort by and it says O, so actually it's O to select sort by. But anyway, since it's the first option, you don't need to like do that anymore, do the O anymore. Okay, so sub menu, you have to open a sub menu. So again, I tell you that there are two ways of doing it. So you can right arrow.
Name N.
It's a bit easy to remember right arrow because you know the sub menu has the right pointing arrow anyway at the right hand side. So you use that to remind yourself is right arrow. But anyway, the other thing is because you know the other common behavior is whatever I select, just press enter or spacebar. So you wait spacebar, nothing happen, you do enter. But of course, if you know that arrow works, then arrow then
Date modified checked. Name N.
right. So name, then press enter.
Leaving menus, documents, items,
now you
view,
have everything
multi-select
arranged
list
already.
box, not
Right, but you also must take note. I was mentioning, if you were in this case here,
invite mute all ... SAVH training deck slot SAVH tell list 11
if you now go and do your
Microsoft
application
applications
key,
edit new print share picture convene move send backup
you're
scan
not going to get your sort by already lah.
escape leaving menus doc.
So you must remember that right click on the empty space means that none of the items in this space must be selected. So because when you first open the documents folder, nothing is selected, although the highlight is on the first item. So at that point, it's just the best time to do the application and choose sort by. But if you didn't realize this and you went arrow up and down already, then you need to know enough that you must do control space to unselect the item, then do your application key or shift F10, then you find the sort by what. Okay, so that is method one.
Escape.
The other method is actually from the ribbon. Okay, the thing I haven't really mentioned much about. So the one I'll tell you, there are three main menus, right? So start menu, application menu, and ribbon. Last time they used to call menu bar. Okay, so alternate.
Upper ribbon, ribbon tabs tab, home tab selected, 1 of 3.
We'll go
Alt
to the
followed
home.
by H.
Actually, down here there's I think two possibilities. One is directly within home. You guys can see. So do you know? Can you see whether the sort by option is somewhere here in the current pane, the top there? Anyway, so if you don't know, arrow down.
Clipboard toolbar,
then you tap through
copy,
options.
paste button, cut button, 3 of
tap through all
copy,
the
paste,
options.
paste, shortcut button, organize toolbar, move to button, copy to delete, rename button, new toolbar.
So you'll get another method of renaming a file, which is go to the ribbon here.
Or new toolbar, new item button, easy access, open toolbar, open the selected file with the.
So admittedly, if you're not familiar, then you could take some hunting. If it doesn't happen to be in the home ribbon, which I can't remember, then you do another option.
Edit button, history button, select toolbars, select none button, invert select, leaving menus, leaving ribbons, file tab button, drop down, escape.
So in this case, it's not
escape.
under home. Then it's in the other one called view.
Upper ribbon, ribbon tabs.
So you're here, you can move between the main headings by using left and right.
Share tabs, view tab selected.
So now it's
2 of
under
3,
view.
Alt followed by V.
By the way, if you listen, they say Alt followed by V. So you press Alt V in future, you open you select the view option.
Panes toolbar, navigation
down
pane button, drop down, preview pane, details pane, layout toolbar, views, change your view, the current view toolbar, sort by button, drop down as pop-up, group by button, drop down as sort by button.
So it says sort by again, right? So go to view, down arrow, then tap until it says sort by. You can press spacebar or enter. I'll press spacebar here.
Space, lower ribbon, name checked, 1 of 9, Alt followed by V, O.
Okay, so you notice, right? They say name check, Alt followed by V, then O. So this means that if you press alternate, then V, then O. So no need to hold down alternate. So alternate already, let go, V, then let go, O, then let go. You come here.
Date modified checked, 2 of 9, Alt followed by V, O.
You notice they keep on saying Alt VO, although you're running through a different option. So actually what this means is Alt VO will actually open this list. Then you see an arrow up and down.
Date modified checked, 2 of 9, Alt followed by V, O. Enter, leaving menus,
then enter to
items,
select,
view,
and now you see
multi-select, letter of home, SAVH, staff handbook left.
So let me just verify that.
Upper rib V, O, lower ribbon, name checked, 1 of 9, type checked, size checked.
Okay, so Alt VO really only opens this list of options to sort by. Okay, so this is work example, I guess. So remember, you just think about how you're going to do it with your mouse. then break each step down and then look for the equivalent in terms of keyboard command, how to do it. Okay, yep. So I guess that's all the time I have for today. Anybody has any questions? Anybody ready to surrender already? I go back and play around.
I think it was a huge download today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we must
prepared
definitely practice.
Yeah, be prepared for another 3 hours of this sort of thing. Or maybe you need to go and get some Panadol.
No, not that bad.
Okay, so done for today. Anybody has any questions? If not, then yeah. I hope you didn't faint from all that. It sounds like a potentially very boring lecture for people who don't really know what's going on. But yeah. Anyway, even as I was doing this, I suddenly realized, if you all don't mind, can I get your permission? I might actually put this recording up on YouTube for any adventurous people who might want to try and teach themselves how to do all this by watching this Zoom recording. Can I take it that all of you here are okay with this? After all, there's only Brian and was it Kat or Sue was talking, right? So only y'all get to be co-hosts in this recording, right? So y'all okay if I put this up for general consumption by anybody who happens to come across this?
Sure. I think it's yeah, because in terms of PTPA, they will only see like our Zoom name. They don't have like our phone number or whatever, so it should be fine.
Okay. But yeah, sort of the other thing about PTPA is consent. So as long as you consent, then I can put anything out.
I think can.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. Okay, so we'll call it a day today. We'll come back for more next Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah, so for us, we will try our best to practice like the keyboard shortcuts and stuff. And then I think especially for the web page navigation, that one I think is actually a lot harder than like just maneuvering around like desktop and Windows. So
I have to share, even there's this lady from New Zealand who happened to come over to Singapore for a number of years. She was actually already teaching the blind in New Zealand before she came over. So she was a little bit like my volunteer for the early number of years when I was at SVH. And I was rather surprised by that she also doesn't necessarily appreciate the full extent to which you can use all these web navigation commands. So yeah, I think it takes a lot of familiarity. So is how, in schoolwork, when you do a maths problem, you must memorize all your maths formula. You must really understand the maths formula. That is how you can solve your maths problem, because the maths problem require you to be able to use your knowledge in a very versatile way to solve the problem. So same thing for keyboard commands. You need to, first thing you need to memorize them. Next, you need to really know what they are supposed to do. And you must fully understand so that you can then like interchangeably switch between all the commands to get to where you want to go. Okay. All right. So with that, I guess I will have to say the usual, cliche thing. Thanks for coming. Hope you are able to learn something from this, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chong.
Thank you.
All right, can see you all.
Thank you.
My microphone.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
All Q.
Your
Leaving
jaws must
ribbon.
be
Toolbar
very tired.
Jaws never gets
Your
tired.
jaws.
Toolbar.
Oh, my jaws, still okay.
I mean both jaws, your jaws software and your actual jaws.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Toolbar recent location
enjoy
button
your
to add escape.
Saturday and Christmas
Okay.
part.
Open participants panel 13.
Well, you still get a chance to say Merry Christmas next week.
Yes, I'll wait for that.
Okay.
All Q. End meeting or leave meeting.
Right.
Leave. End meeting for all
Bye.
button.
All right. Bye bye.